and welcome to the third annual Bengals Draft Party, live from the Handlebar restaurant at Great American Ballpark. You're in the house. Can we hear you? Can we hear you in the house?
Yeah.
You are live on First Star Media Group YouTube channel. We are back for the third year in a row, promised bigger and better than ever, and we will deliver with that. Here's what you need to know. Hashtags are your friend tonight. Hashtag First Star Logistics will get you into the first drawing, and that is the grand prize. We'll be giving away a golf cart tonight, a Bengals golf cart that you can take home. But beyond that, we'll have jerseys signed by Bengals players, balls signed by Bengals players. We'll have Xboxes. We'll have a golf bag beyond that. Everything that you want, and we're giving away cash to boot. We want you here all night long, all presented by First Star Logistics. How good is this, folks in the house? They're slow starting tonight. They're slow starting tonight. Thanks so much to First Star Logistics for putting this together. On the dais with me, I usually start with the man in the middle. I'm going to save the man in the middle to the very last because we saved the best for last, right? So we've got a newcomer joining us. He's not a newcomer to the game, newcomer to our third draft party. Alan True began covering the NFL back in 8th grade. Man, oh man, your 8th grade is not my 8th grade in 1999. Following that year, he credentialed to cover the NFL Combine all over for several years since 2004. Football recruiting for Scout for 247 Sports, baby. Alan has appeared on ESPN Radio, Big Ten Network, CBS Sports, Fox Sports, featured in Sporting News, Lindy's, and other publications. Please welcome football recruiting analyst Alan True. On our other end, Joe Goodberry has become a trusted voice covering the Bengals over a decade. His analysis, mock drafts, player evaluations, his Bengals on the Brain episodes right here on First Star Media Group YouTube channel every week. He just put something out this morning garnering nearly 100,000 views because people eat the good man up. Joe has been featured on several major football outlets. Bengals analyst and podcaster, ladies and gentlemen, Joe Goodberry. And let's mark 40 years in the booth. 10 years on the field for the Cincinnati Bengals from 74 to 83, 2 seasons in the USFL for Donald Trump's New Jersey Generals, before embarking on a broadcasting career that has seen him as our analyst since 1986, ladies and gentlemen. A member of the Bengals' 40th and 50th anniversary teams, Dave Lapham, hosting In the Trenches with Dave Lapham, presented by First Star Logistics. Current Bengals coaches, players, stars from around the country join him. He is the man, the myth, the legend. Ladies and gentlemen, Dave Lapham.
Yeah. Much appreciated. Thank you very much. Thank you, Brad, for the kind words, my man.
It is good to be back with you all, and we're going to be here all night, and we're going to be playing it along. Here's our first hashtag, Beyond First Star Logistics. Once you get that in, you need to get that hashtag in. We're going to be drawing 2 names every half hour to give you a chance to win that golf cart. But your first half hour, here's your hashtag Beyond that. Eric All Jr., it's all one word, but you got to spell it right. ERICKALLJR. That will give you a chance at winning Eric All's jersey. With that, let's get going. Too much talk, but we're going to talk all night. Lap, I want you to talk to me about the Bengals' first-round pick yesterday. Your take on Mr. Stewart.
Well, some breaking news, I guess, with respect to Shamar Stewart today. He had a little presser down there at Paycor, and it was revealed that he's going to wear number 97. That's going to be his jersey number. And Geno Atkins, of course.
I remember a good 97.
Yeah, was the last guy to wear that jersey number. 8 straight Pro Bowls. And when Stewart was informed of that, I think he really, it's taken back a little bit. He knew of Geno Atkins, but I don't think he knew what kind of a player Geno Atkins was for as long a period of time as Geno Atkins was. So, yeah, that'll be interesting. I mean, the number 4, the national, that's what he wore in college. The National Football League doesn't allow defensive linemen to single-digit numbers, so he is going to be wearing number 97. And this guy he's an athletic freak. I mean, looking at him down there, looks like he's chiseled. I mean, this guy is a genetic marvel, and 6'5" plus, 267 to 270 pounds. And with that size, he ran a 4.59 40. I mean, his 10-yard split, his 20-yard split were all phenomenal as well. He's got a quick start. He's got long speed. You don't really need it hopefully as a defensive tackle, defensive end, have to run all that distance all the time. But I mean, he also a 40-inch vertical jump, almost 11-foot broad jump, 10 feet, 11 inches, 1 inch away from 11 feet. And when he was asked, of all these things, which one is the biggest deal to you? He said the broad jump, because of the power and the explosiveness that it takes to move that kind of mass. And now we're talking physics. I'd have to go back to high school physics, but to move that kind of a body, almost 11 feet, or almost 12 feet, 11 feet, 10 feet, 11 inches, almost 11 feet. It's incredible. And I think, the thing about him that everybody's worried about, of course, is you look at his size, speed ratio, numbers at the combine. I mean, Myles Garrett lit up the combine, and Texas A&M guy. And he had a combine similar to what Myles Garrett did. But, I mean, Myles Garrett has proven to be a hell of a player in the National Football League. And Shamar Stewart has got a long way to go to meet that achievement. And the thing about him, when you look at the physical attributes, 37 or 39 pressures, one or the other, approaching 40 pressures, to have a sack and a half this year on 40 pressures. It's like, that just, I was up for a while I was laying in bed looking at the ceiling. I'm like, 40 pressures. Sack and a half?
All right, you're not the only one laying there looking at the ceiling. Joe Goodberry, what's your thought? Do the Bengals reach at 17 for Stewart?
He was projected to go in that range throughout much of the process. I even think he thought he was going to go much earlier, right? He was a little mad going up onto the stage in Wisconsin, on draft night, and they're trying to get him to talk. And, I think he thought he would go maybe as late as the Cowboys or, before the Bengals picked at 17, of course. So did they reach? I guess that depends on your appetite for risk. I do think they took a lot of risk with this pick. There were some safer players, but if you want to get pass rush help, you want to get athleticism. I have a little deja vu as we're sitting here because it was 2 years. The very first year we did this, we talked about Myles Murphy in the first round. Very similar, big guys, long arms, right? 85-inch wingspan for Shamar Stewart. You think a guy with that athleticism, with that body and that length, how do you only get 4.5 sacks in 3 years?
Right.
You got to almost try to avoid the quarterback, right? You don't fall into more sacks than that. It's some of the lowest production we've ever seen from a defensive end, especially in the first round. And it's not just sacks, it's tackles. It's tackles for a loss, only 14, only 30 solo tackles in 37 games. But when you watch the tape, he is explosive. He is physical. He plays extremely hard. He'll run through you. I'm just not sure he's got the pass rush plan right now. He doesn't have the counter move. He doesn't have a go-to move that he can lean on other than, hey, I'm going to run through your face, which works at times when guys are smaller than you. I want that. But at the same time, you have to wonder if this is just what the Bengals want. Last year, Marius Mims, right, had some questions about, what's the upside of him because he's got every tool you look for. You got to take a risk on a guy that's athletic and 6'8" and has exactly what you want in an offensive tackle. Well, I think this is what they're doing again at defensive end. And they've done it before with Myles Murphy. Hopefully better results quicker. I still have hope in Murphy, but hopefully quicker than that. We're not sitting here in year 2 wondering where the sacks are because this team really needs them.
Alan True, your thoughts?
Yeah, so I'm not sugarcoating this, but I'm gonna bring a little sunshine into the conversation.
All right, bring the
here.
sunshine.
So first thing, having known the college game and talked to people down at Texas A&M, Mike Elko, their head coach, considered one of the best defensive minds in all of college football.
Right.
And I think when you talk to people around that program, they only got 1 year with Shamar. And they really feel like if we had him for 2 years, 3 years, he wouldn't have got to pick 17. So 1 year under Mike Elko, they said they saw a lot of growth during that time. You know, high school, saw him play in high school, Under Armour All-America game, saw all the same traits that are making him special now. It reminds me a little bit of Rashawn Gary, who was a 5-star high school recruit, didn't really produce at Michigan. People thought the Packers might have overdrafted him, and he's become a really, really good professional pass rusher. And that was largely under the tutelage of Jerry Montgomery, who's now in Cincinnati. And I think he feels like he can make this happen again with Shamar Stewart because he did the same thing with Rashawn
Let
Gary.
me throw this thought out there because it's been said that maybe Texas A&M had him doing things that he wasn't built to do because Texas A&M needed him to do those things. Will the Bengals change him around? And because of the freak numbers, Dave, that you said he has, put him on the edge and say, let fly?
Yeah, I mean, that's a good possibility. I mean, the thing is, Texas A&M, they're going to have 3 defensive linemen drafted. I mean, they had a defensive front that was about as good as college football had to offer. You know, it's kind of like the Philadelphia Eagles in the National Football League. They win the Super Bowl. They're too deep at every position group in their defensive line. They're rolling in the troops, you know, and that's what Texas A&M had, so much depth, so much talent on that defensive line. And they had Shamar Stewart quite a bit of the time. You know, he was playing like head up on an offensive lineman, right down the middle, you know, lining right up on his nose and 2-gap. And here's a guy with these athletic attributes that we're talking about. Are you kidding me? The like I said, the 10 and 20-yard splits. He doesn't just have long speed. I mean, the guy has first step quickness. He's got power. He's got acceleration. Man, I saw him penetrating and you know, disrupting some. But man, they didn't ask him to do that as much as I think he was capable of. And with him, I got to give him credit because, you know, he was disciplined. When he was told to do something within the defensive structure, he did not freelance. You know, and I mean, he fulfilled his responsibility, his role in that defensive football team. With that all said, though, when you get close enough to the quarterback to be graded to have a pressure 39 times, and this year accumulate a sack and a half, you know, it's mind-boggling to me. I would think, okay, 25% would be a low number. We're talking almost double-digit sacks there. You know, I mean, it's getting up 8-9 sacks. It's 1.5. I mean, obviously, the biggest thing that Al Golden and Jerry Montgomery are going to have to work with regard to Stewart is finishing. He, you know, gets there, causes some problems. I mean, he's in the hair of people and all, but his ability to finish, you know, he lets some slip through his grasp. And the other thing about him, though, when you look at it, and I'd have to look at a lot more tape and I don't know if you have, Joe, and see what these guys considered pressures. He is so gifted and so athletic. A lot of times he's not what a normal human being would be close enough to cause a pressure. And he's diving and he's trying to, I mean, this guy is such a freak. And if they're marking him down because he's doing things that normally human beings don't do, you know, and then all of a sudden he's got all these pressures that, are they really pressures or are they pressures because he's such a freakazoid? So, I mean, there's a lot of things to look at. Bottom line is, I think Al Golden feels comfortable that they can develop him, and he has all the confidence in the world in your friend Jerry Montgomery that he can, you know, tutor him, develop him. There's a lot of growth there. There's a lot of meat in the bone. It's not just a little bit on that bone. There's a good chunk of beef on that bad boy.
All right, let's get you up to date because we're in draft day 2. Carson Schlesinger, Cleveland Browns start off day 2. Linebacker out of UCLA and Houston after them, taking Jaden Higgins, the wide receiver out of Iowa.
Mm-hmm.
That's a good pick for them.
You like them?
That Higgins is a good pick for the Texans. You agree, Joe?
I do agree. He scored super high for us. We had a first-round grade on him. He and Carson Schlesinger, so both were starting this draft off pretty well. Teams reset overnight and reorganized themselves well.
You want to talk about the Cleveland Browns at all with the move that they made by trading out of number 2, Joe?
Yeah, I think they needed to accumulate talent. I thought the roster was getting a little bit old. If you didn't feel the quarterback was there and you wanted to gear up for whenever that quarterback is coming, you assume if it's not coming, you know, here with their picks, next year or the year after when they can get out of the Deshaun Watson contract. That makes sense. Get the roster as good as you can, and then pick that quarterback. I wanted to touch on something.
Please do.
All right. I had 8 missed sacks for Shamar Stewart. Missed tackles is a big thing for him. So if you're wondering about production, how does that happen? 8 missed sacks the last 2 years. 26.9% of his tackles attempts were missed. So a quarter of his it's really, really
And what
high
do you
number.
attribute that to?
Okay, a couple things. Number one, I think his agility is lacking. He didn't do his agility test. He scored every off the charts on everything, right? Athletic freak. Didn't do his agilities. Typically, I see that as a guy hiding a little bit.
Yeah.
You see it when he's trying to run the arc or trying to break down in space. He leaves his feet a ton. I think he could probably not do that. But he's going for these plays. They're probably, I think Zach Taylor mentioned it as well, they're probably out of his range to even make the tackle. But because he's such a freak, he's leaping and going for it. Long arms, trying to trip a guy up. Is that a missed tackle? Depends on how you're going to judge that. But, when you're saying that, is he getting credit for pressures that probably normal guys wouldn't? 100% I saw that on tape. He's blowing through guys, getting right to the quarterback, but he's got the lineman between him. He's reaching around, getting a hand on him. Oh, that's a pressure. Well, the quarterback's running, and you're not really getting to him. So you have to discard that guy when you get to that point. Something he could work on with hand usage.
Easily, right?
You can see some of Stewart's highlights that we will show here as you run through that. And Joe, I know we've gotten so much into the analytics that you guys have given numbers and scores. Alan, I know you've looked at some of these as well. If you look at a number score by a guy who comes off in the first round, that's 17. Is Stewart's score the way you want a first-round guy to score?
So I think, when you're feeling a need, right, you're getting a guy with great traits. And so there's some risk. Obviously, we know the pros and cons. I think the Bengals have shot their shot as far as we can develop this guy. So I still think that scores where you want it to. And I think defensive line is a pretty traitsy position. You want bigger, stronger, faster people playing that position. So if you're going to take a shot on a guy like this developmentally, I think at this position, we've seen it work out in the past. And one note to add, too, he didn't start playing football until he was 12. So he's not a kid that started playing football, played through Pop Warner. So that's where you see some of this inexperience.
That's where you learn how to tackle.
That's where you learn how to
12.
tackle. Yes, exactly. So I think he's a little bit greener than some of these other guys on the board. But I think, you take a shot on the traits.
I find this fascinating that here in 2025, we're talking about here's a kid who didn't start playing football till he was 12 years old, and he's way behind the game.
Right.
12, come on. Seriously, at this point, we are now looking at that. We need a guy who starts at 6.
Well, look, these kids are playing football.
I understand the way it is because youth sports is a different game now.
It is. Back in the day, and we're talking a long time ago, we're talking about in the 60s. I was too big as a young player.
Because you had weight requirements.
Yeah.
You couldn't play.
Pop Warner was 110 pounds.
Heck yeah.
I was 110 pounds in the second grade.
Yeah.
So I'm playing, tackle football without pads with 6th graders because I'm about as big as those guys, but I couldn't play any organized, tackle football until I got to high school. That was the first time I put shoulder pads on and actually got coaching. And it is a different animal. But when you look at, when I look at Stewart, the thing about him, he's competing in the AFC North. The AFC North traditionally has teams that want to run the football. And the Baltimore Ravens want to run the football, and they want to run it with running backs as well as their quarterback, which is another dimension that is tough to handle. The Cleveland Browns can run the football. The Pittsburgh Steelers can run the football. So the thing that he does really well, this dude plays the run. He's a 2-gap guy. And he'll knock you back. We used to, what kind of a percentage knockback is this guy getting at the defensive line? In other words, establishing the line of scrimmage in his favor, taking it and pushing people back into the lap of their running backs and quarterbacks. This guy can do that kind of thing. I think with good coaching, and I think schematically, Al Golden looks at him and says, man, I've got some things within my structure that this guy is ideal for. I'm going to put him in the gap, like a one technique to shade the center and just explode through the gap between the center and the guard. I'm going to put him in a 3 technique, the outside shoulder guard, and let him get up the football field, and don't make it complicated. I think Al Golden is thinking, This guy, I'm going to try to tap into these physical attributes and just let him go eat.
Okay.
And I think that versatility important too, because some of the other edges that were on the board, they're just edge guys. Whereas I think with Stewart, you get some of that ability to shift him around the defensive line.
Nick Amanawara, a safety out of SC, going to Seattle is the next pick there. Let's go back to the first round, guys.
SC being South Carolina.
There you go. The
not
other SC.
Southern California,
that other SC. Yeah. And we go through trends, Dave, right? Where we see draft picks. We see the way the league is going. The tush push wins the Super Bowl. And now you get 18 guys on. You get the biggins, 18 of them, and you can correct me if I'm wrong. Either on both sides of the line, go in the first round, right? Yeah. So is the league moving towards? If we're going to win games, you got a massive guys up front on both sides of the ball because defense is now adding freaks on other sides. So you've got to load up.
Yeah, I counted 19. I counted 9 offensive linemen, 10 defensive linemen taken in the first round. There was a run on defensive linemen just before the Bengals picked at 17. Defensive linemen at 11, at 13, at 15, and 16. And the one that went at 16, broke the Bengals' hearts. I mean, there's no question about that. I mean, they were like, oh man, I love Walter Nolan. Walter Nolan's a stud, man. Walter Nolan's a big stud up there. So,
the crowd's reacting to an Ohio State pick.
Quinshon Judkins going to Cleveland.
How about it?
They're loading up, aren't they?
The Brownies. And the other thing is, in talking about Cleveland, okay, let's talk about the division, the AFC North.
Please do.
Cleveland takes Mason Graham, defensive tackle out of Michigan, with the 5th pick in the draft. Pittsburgh takes Derek Harmon, defensive tackle out of Oregon, with the 21st pick of the draft. Baltimore takes Malachi Starks out of Georgia with the 27th pick in the draft. The Cincinnati Bengals take a defensive lineman. And so the AFC North, I mean, they're only, the way I counted it, and, I went, I basically said, number 2 pick in the draft, Travis Hunter, I gave him a half for each way because he's a two-way guy.
Okay, yeah.
So I went 16 and a half offensive players, 15 and a half defensive players in the first round. So, I mean, just about 50-50. But the AFC North, they took 4 of those 15 and a half defensive players, and they were all defensive linemen. So what does that tell you about the division? It tells you that you got to load up, you got to bring your lunch pail, and you got to be solid in the trenches, no pun intended. I mean, that's where games are won and lost. As a former offensive lineman, I got a big belief in that if you got to let your skill guys perform. The way you do that is you capture the line of scrimmage. And that's what everybody in the AFC North wants to do.
All right, if you go AFC North, Joe, I want you to talk on what Cleveland did in trading away in today already with Schlesinger and Judkins. Do you like what Cleveland's doing?
Yeah, number one, I loved Mason Graham. I thought he was a great player. I thought he was the best defensive lineman in this class, even over Abdul Carter. I just thought he was much more ready right now. And Abdul Carter was dealing with a foot injury as well. But in round 2, Carson Schlesinger, if we can spend a minute, I thought he was fantastic. This is a guy that UCLA was not talking about. They had Kane Medrano, the other linebacker. They're like, yeah, this is our linebacker. This is the good guy. Within like 3 weeks, they're like, oh no, Carson Schlesinger, that's the guy. Former walk-on that was killing our practices, is also a freak athlete, shows up at the combine, over 240 pounds, and tests like an A-plus athlete. I really liked him on tape. His processing and his intelligence are off the charts. And then Quinshon Judkins should be a starting running back in this league. And then now it's a Ohio State to Cleveland. He's going to be a fan favorite really quickly.
Your thoughts on all of this, Alan? I'll give to you, who wins day one? Is there a clear winner of day one?
You know what? I like what Jacksonville did. I think getting aggressive and getting what a lot of people thought was the best player in the draft, obviously the best player in college football last year.
They don't give up too much.
Potentially, but if Travis Hunter becomes what
that
everybody thinks he can,
player,
then you let that go. And I think when you have a guy who can be a weapon for Trevor Lawrence and then step over onto the other side, where you talk about the AFC North, now you look at the division Jacksonville's in, and some of the firepower that's coming into that division. You have young quarterbacks like C.J. Stroud who are doing really well. Travis Hunter gives you, I think, the most special player in this draft. And I think with a brand new coach in Jacksonville, time kind of starting to run out for Trevor Lawrence. You got to go aggressive, and I liked what they did there.
I hate to say this because we've gone 25 minutes into our draft show, and this is the first time, and I apologize, but I'm going to say Shedeur Sanders for the first time 25 minutes in, because there was a love affair in ESPN that this was supposed to be a first-round guy. So if there was a love affair, I don't like jumping in where the normal media jumps in. So I'm taking 25 minutes to mention it, but we're day 2. We're now at what, pick 37. We haven't heard that name. Football people know football. So does that mean Shedeur Sanders isn't all everything he was cracked up to be, Dave?
You know, it's incredible to me that in the first round, 2 quarterbacks were selected. The first pick of the draft and the 25th pick by trade. You know, so you got one right away, and you don't have one till, you know, the bottom portion of the first round. 2 quarterbacks. I mean, that's almost unheard of in this era of the importance.
It is
of that position.
What did we have? 6 quarterbacks in the first round last year?
Yeah, and
More running backs than quarterbacks so far.
How about that?
And more running backs. You know, I mean, the running back position is stacked. I mean, gosh, there's a million possibilities. The running backs had more draftable players at the combine than any other position group. You know, so I think there's going to be a lot of running backs, go in this draft. But man, 2 quarterbacks in today's year in the National Football League. Throw the football, and then figure out ways to defend the pass. How do you do that? You do that with edge rushers, obviously, and you do it with cornerbacks and back end people. 2 quarterbacks drafted, 2 cornerbacks drafted, and 1 safety. To me, in this era of the National Football League, that's the thing that jumps out at me like, what? 2 quarterbacks, 2 cornerbacks to defend those quarterbacks, and 1 safety. The only people taken in the first round. It's kind of an oddity, but like I said, you know, you had 19 interior or 19 linemen in the trenches that were drafted. So obviously, everybody in the league is looking to fortify what's going on up front, and that'll take care of the back end of things.
Joe, you want to go on our very latest pick that the Dolphins picked up with Jonah?
Yeah, our first offensive lineman of day 2, maybe starting a run here. We're going to have to pay attention to how fast these linemen go, because I think the Bengals would like one at 19. But Jonah Anaya out of Arizona, a tackle that I think is going to be a guard, one of the youngest offensive linemen in this class. A lot of time when you're watching him on tape, all the highlights they showed, he's 20 years old there, and he's 330 plus. Like, this is a guy that I think is going to make more of a guard. He still needs
list him on the pick chart as a guard, so that would give a good indication.
That makes a ton of sense. Yeah. And I think he's a little too slow-footed, off balance to be a tackle, but I think he'll be a heck of a guard. Plays very, very tough and strong. I would have been cool with that pick for the Bengals at 49.
Does that mean that the Bengals are going – is it deep enough? Is it deep enough to get who the Bengals want if they want an offensive lineman at this pick, Dave?
I still have Tate Ratledge available, Ariante Ursary, Wyatt Millum. There's a few guys still here that I think are worthy of this pick. You may even stretch a little bit further depending on how risky they want to go, but there's still at least 3 guys I got my eye on.
I like Tate. I think he's a heck of a player. I mean, Georgia, they coach him up. They got great players,
and he played next to Mims.
Yep, I think he's got some value. I do like that possibility. In my mind, from pick 10 to pick 50, I mean, there's some dips and whatever, but there's you're not falling off a cliff. So I would love to see the Bengals trade back.
Really?
I would love to see the Bengals get a 3rd pick, not just 2 picks today. I'd love to see him get 3 and maybe address the guard position twice, you know, or not necessarily back to back.
No, do it back to back. Let's go.
I mean, that's my rookie year, or the draft for my rookie year. I was drafted in the 3rd round, 61st pick, and there were 2 third-round selections. Mine was by trade, so I get picked as a guard. Evan Jolitz from the University of Cincinnati is taken as a linebacker with the other 3rd-round pick. And then in the 4th round, early in the 4th round, Darryl White out of Nebraska is drafted as a guard. So 3rd and 4th round, okay, we have a wide open opportunity for you guys to compete and not necessarily start your rookie year, but be a significant backup, somebody that can go in and take snaps. And if there's an injury, you're going to start.
Or the guy running in the play calls, huh?
Yeah, well, they did that on the other side with the two veteran guys. Howard Fest and John Shinners. But I mean, to have that going on at training camp. I mean, every single day we're looking at each other in every drill, thinking, "Man, I hope I don't screw this up. I hope I don't have a bad rep, and I hope you do, dude." You're not saying it, but you're looking at each other like, "Man, you become friends." Daryl was a great guy. I love the guy. But, man, I definitely wanted to make the football team. It's very interesting. I could see that happening. I could see, in a very, very short space, a couple of linemen taken, and one of them is going to make the team, and one might make the practice squad or could make the team as well.
Alan, your thoughts for the Bengals second-round pick?
So I'm a big Ursery guy. Covered him in high school. Like him a lot. He's played Big Ten football at Minnesota. I think if you've played Big Ten football, especially way up there at Minnesota, you understand AFC North football too. If you can play in the Big Ten on the offensive line, you can play in the AFC North. So he's conditioned for the weather, ready to go. I like him. Some of the guys I was hoping would be there are starting to come off the board. Eamon Warrior. I didn't think he would make it, but in a pipe dream, he would have gotten there. There's some other guys, but I think at the positions of need, there's still some good players on the board.
So if I say that, and I said that, and you listed about 4 names, Joe, if you go down, does that mean the Bengals are taking an offensive lineman because there's enough here and that need is the greatest right now?
It doesn't have to be. You don't always directly draft for your need, right? If there's a player on the board that stands out completely, like for me right now, the highest guy is that I would consider would be TJ Sanders, defensive tackle from South Carolina. Not that they want to go back into that defensive line. They could. I still think they need help there. But if he completely stands out from Tate Ratledge, then you go that direction. But if they're very close together, then you would consider need at that point. And I think they would like to get a starting guard, because once you dip into round 3, if it's a guy like Charles Grant from William & Mary, he may need some development. That's not a plug-and-play starter.
Dave, this goes back to what you just said, which between 10 and 50, I'm throwing a coin as to who I've got. Does that mean that there's that much depth between that time that you've got a bunch of names that you're going to start playing with, because it really doesn't hurt me if I take that guy?
Yeah, I really believe that, and if there is somebody in the that slides to 49 for the Bengals.
Yep.
If somebody slides to 49 that you had no inkling was going to be there, no matter what the position is, the Bengals are in a situation, and Paul Brown's mindset always was, take the best available player.
Yeah.
It makes your football team better. In a perfect world, you're taking the best player available, and it addresses a position of need. But if it doesn't necessarily address the number one position of need, it's going to make your football team better still. And then you address the position of need in the next round. So if somebody slides to 49 that they have, everybody, after every round, they meet as an organization with the ownership, coaches, general manager, scouts, all of them, and they redo the board. After the first, redo the board. So
if that name comes up,
right now they're like, okay, boy, if these 2 or 3 guys are here at 49, hey, all bets are off, man. We're going right there.
What if it's Will Johnson? Who that's an interesting name.
Yeah.
I mean, could have been a top 5 to 10 pick at one point. Sounds like the medicals are not good there. If he's there at 49, is he a guy that you would look at?
Boy, ACL, those are tricky, That's obviously the reason. But I mean, it's at one point in time, he was considered the best corner in the draft, before the injury. But ACLs.
Another Buckeye gone. Travion Henderson to the Patriots.
Yep.
There's one of the running backs to go. The deep position, man.
How about the running backs, huh?
The combine was stacked with them. 31 guys at the combine at the running back position. And the Bengals really wanted to take another look at about 10 or 11 of those bad boys. So I'm not saying they're going with a running back in the 2nd or 3rd round, but at some point in time, There may be a running back for the Cincinnati Bengals that's plucked.
Him being off the board, though, keeps them from being tempted, right? Because
Yeah.
if he was still there, I could see them being like, okay, this is a good player. Like, how we pass the best player available, even if it's a running back?
All right,
How
guess
about
what?
2 running backs taken
Right.
this early? 2 Ohio State running backs. 2 Buckeyes. Gandhi.
Buckeyes.
Run
All
the
right.
ball, baby. Run
Hey,
the
you guys
ball.
want us to give a little something away? We are, goodness gracious, we're 35 minutes in. It's time to give something away. How about our first jersey? Our first jersey, if you were in on hashtag EricAllJR,
Yeah.
you are in for it all. And here we go. Here we go. Dave Burke running it. And we've got Matthew Buchheit. You are winner of an Eric All jersey signed. Now, remember, hashtag First Star Logistics. You want to make sure you've got that in because every other hour we're going to be pulling those names. Guess what? We got another jersey available.
How about it?
Run that Wheel of Fortune, Dave.
A double dip.
And it's Jake Rosenberg who pulls off the second win with a hashtag Eric All Jr. Congratulations
Nice.
to our
Is he
winners.
here? I expected to hear more noise.
I know. People are going. So, can I give our next hashtag, Dave? Going into it. Hold it. Wait. Are you giving away one more jersey?
Golf cart.
Yeah, the golf cart.
Oh, the golf cart. I got to mention again.
Yeah.
The reason I said is hashtag First Star Logistics because our grand prize at the end of the evening, we are giving you a brand new Bengals golf cart. So
Sweet.
First Star Logistics is what you need to have in because we'll regrind those. Dave on the Wheel of Fortune will be regrinding those all day long. Hold it. This is another jersey, Dave? No, it's not another jersey. You're just goofing around. You're just goofing around. All right.
Well, how is the winner of the golf cart going to get it home?
That's their
That's the
problem.
logistics company.
So,
Yeah,
so
exactly.
this winner, Big Dan Teague, he gets
Did he get
another
pulled?
option for the golf cart.
Does he get the
gets
other
another-
option? Oh, Big Dan, your name gets put in the hat for another time down the road. Am I reading that right, Dave? I don't do well on sign language, but he's got one ticket in. All right. Congratulations, Big Dan. You haven't won anything yet except get a ticket in.
One more
ticky,
ticket.
ticky.
Here's one more ticket going in.
One more ticket.
All right. And our next ticket goes to Matthew Bloomfield.
Nice.
Nice bridge picture with you, Matthew. That's your profile pic, and you've got a ticket in to the grand prize winning. That's what you have to have is for hashtag First Star Logistics as we move forward. Now, Dave, do I announce what our next hashtag is? Are you prepped for that next hashtag? Let's go, man. Our next hashtag is going to be Andre Yoshivash. So you're going to have this because if you spell this straight off the bat, you're stronger than most.
Yes.
That's going to eliminate half the people.
That's your next hashtag. So I'll give it to you just in case. ANDREIIOSIVAS.
He did that from memory.
That's your next
Just like it
hashtag.
sounds.
That will be a signed jersey. We'll give away a couple of those. Everybody in the house, so great to have you here at the Handlebar. We're worried about you. Are you guys listening out there? Does anybody hear us in the Handlebar? Yeah, there's a few people in the back tables.
There they are. They're
Eating now. The food has now been put out.
There we go.
We thank Great American Ballpark and the Reds for letting us be up here. First Star Logistics, Kev, you put it together. Garrett's working it. Dave's working the board. Brad Johansen, Dave Lapham, Joe Goodberry, Big Al. Big Al.
Big Al in the house,
Big
baby.
Al in
Big
the
Al.
house, guys. All right. Have we missed any picks while I was going off? Travion went
That's
on.
a good one right there.
Luther Burden.
Luther
Luther
Burden to
Burden.
the Bears.
They are stacking weapons in Chicago. They took a tight end to start this, Colston Loveland, and now Luther Burden. Oh,
Now, my son went to Mizzou, so I got to watch a lot of Luther Burden.
you get to do the analysis then. Go ahead.
He can play.
Yeah.
Dude
good
can
analysis.
Play a
Yeah.
lot. I
Very
mean,
good.
and this is not a big kid, but he makes catches.
Yeah.
And speed finds a way, and if you got a guy that you need to make a play, Luther Burden's going to be that guy.
Were you surprised that Loveland was chosen before Warren at tight end?
I was surprised.
Yeah, me too.
I liked Warren more. I just thought he
Yeah.
could do more,
Yeah.
and I like that flexibility in offense today.
Right.
But I can see why Loveland, 2 years younger, teams
Yeah.
are looking at it like, oh, he hasn't even scratched the surface yet. Michigan hasn't been throwing the ball very well, even when J.J. McCarthy was there. There was games they're completing 9 balls a game, So I think there's a lot more upside in Loveland still to go.
Yeah.
Alan, your thoughts on, as we approach the Bengals pick, beyond the need on the offensive line? Dave, Joe were saying, all right, if there's a name that comes up, and you mentioned one with a potential ACL, you got anybody else that you look at that you say, if this board comes up and it's going the way that we have, and now we're getting running backs taken off the board, what else does the Bengals need that they have beyond offensive line that you see?
Yeah, so I think safety is another position that you would look at. So I've seen Xavier Watts mocked to the Bengals a lot in the second round.
Yeah.
He's still around. You have several other safeties on the board. Kevin Winston from Penn State, another one, Big Ten guy. So you have a couple of safeties left on the board. I think it just is going to come down to value. Joe mentioned TJ Sanders. He's another guy I've seen going to the Bengals in a lot of mocks, but it's going to come down to now some of these guys, these higher end board, top of the board, second round guys like Luther Bird and Travion Henderson, they're starting to go.
Right.
So now the pool is starting to shrink, and I think we're going to get a better idea here. But I think if it's not guard, which I still think that's the biggest need, safety, linebacker, those are defensive tackle, those are some other positions to look at.
And I would not be surprised about a potential cornerback.
Yeah.
That wouldn't shock me either. And I agree with you about the safety, Xavier Watts and Winston as well. I do think if they do go corner, Will Johnson obviously is gone, like you mentioned, Brad. But Siobhan Revel from East Carolina, Benjamin Morrison from Notre Dame, Watts, Benjamin Morrison, Notre Dame, Al Golden, Notre Dame. So he's
Trey Amos too. I like a lot.
Trey Amos, yep. The Notre Dame factor, though, he knows those guys intimately. He knows what they did in his scheme at the collegiate level. He knows how they're going to, translate and adapt in the National Football League. There's a lot there. I'd not be surprised if the meetings that they had, he was banging his shoe on the table saying, these two guys are legit, in second or third round.
What's interesting, too, is we talked about Stewart earlier, and I was kind of comparing him to some of the other edges that were on the board. The other guys that were in consideration, Mike Green, Donovan Ezeraki, those guys haven't gone yet.
Yeah.
So those guys are still hanging around. So I think there may be things there that we didn't know that is causing those guys
Holding
to slide.
guys back a little bit. All right.
And you can never have enough edge rushers.
Oh yeah.
That's what
You got to be able to rush the court. You got to affect the quarterback, as they say these days.
Especially if you're going to shift Stewart inside sometimes.
Right.
That may make sense as well.
Alan, I'm going to go back to something that you said with a Big Ten comment. This guy out of Wisconsin, and he plays Big Ten football, so he plays AFC North football. How many coaches, how many coordinators, how many guys are actually looking at, where they played, what conference they played, and how they match with our division? Is that a real thing?
I don't think it is at all. I know I made the comment, but if you look at some of the best, in my lifetime, some of the best offensive linemen that have played in the AFC North, like Jonathan Ogden came from the West Coast, right? Alan Faneca is from LSU. There's not a great correlation, but I think when you get into this part, I think sometimes you do want some guys who have gotten used to playing in the cold weather and that style of football.
Fair enough.
I would also say as college football develops, the Big Ten
Here's
doesn't
our next
always
quarterback,
play
guys.
like classic Big Ten. Now, Tyler Shuck ahead of Shadur Sanders.
How about that? I do agree that from an offensive lineman standpoint, it's not as big an adjustment, but I can remember teammates in the AFC North. They're all outdoor stadiums. It's not only tough weather, but you're not in any kind of a dome to prevent the wind and the cold and all that. So offensive linemen, you can whatever you need to do, put on Vaseline on your arms or whatever the case may be, which I did in the freezer bowl. But the quarterbacks, the receivers, handling the football ends up being like a rock, like a brick.
Yeah.
And there's a little bit to adjusting to that and handling that and going outdoors to practice. You know, a lot of teams have these indoor facilities like the Bengals do now, IEL facility. You go indoors, you know, it's great. I mean, it's super. You're out there, but you're not basically out there in the conditions you're going to be playing in on game day. And the people that handle the football, sometimes that can be a little bit of an adjustment.
Tyler Shuck, guys, to the New Orleans Saints. Shedeur Sanders sits. What does this mean, if anything?
It means that prime time is upset.
Oh, yeah.
Deion Sanders is fit to be tied, man. Deion Sanders is about to make a public plea on behalf of his son.
Well, give me a rundown on Tyler Shuck out of Louisville.
Older guy because he dealt with injuries, but he's big, got strong arm. The flashes are there. I think teams are just saying traits here, and he would have been good had he have been healthy, and probably would have been a higher pick, you know, throughout his early part of his career. So I get it, but the Saints, you know, I don't know that taking a Tyler Shuck in round 2. There's a lot of people that like Tyler Shuck, and then I believe it was the Senior Bowl. People were talking him up, and I didn't think he had a great week there to really light his draft stock on fire. Maybe a missed opportunity for him, but there were still people that kept saying, we like Shuck, and then so it's not a big shock.
Chicago Bears have just traded their next pick to Buffalo.
Shuck is probably one of the biggest, I think, like boom or bust guys at quarterback. There's a lot of variance if you talk to people.
Could be a flip a coin kind of thing.
Yeah, some people love him. Some people don't think it's worth the risk. Him being older and having the injury history, but some teams really, really like them.
If you are just joining us, we are live at the Handlebar in Great American Ballpark. Brad Johansen, Alan True, Dave Lapham, Joe Goodberry. First Star Logistics, 3rd annual Bengals Draft Party. We are well down the line, and the Bengals getting ready to go on the clock very shortly. You're getting ready to go on the clock for the grand prize of a golf cart, a Bengals golf cart. You need to put in hashtag First Star Logistics for your chance to win that. And each half hour, we'll draw 2 more names to be able to put you into that drawing at the very end. But so many drawings going on right now. The one you have, hashtag Andre Yoshivash. His signed jersey, we'll be giving that away at the top of the hour. A couple of those going on, but make sure you always continue to put in hashtag First Star Logistics. As we move forward, the Buffalo Bills now on the clock.
Got to be pass rusher.
They probably traded up for one of those guys we talked about.
Yeah.
Mike Green, Donovan Izaraku, I think that would be big for them. They got a speedy corner. Their man coverage and pass rush were their 2 big issues on defense.
What does it take? Well, I mean, no one here in Bengals land wants to know, but what does it take for Buffalo to make that next step and win the Super Bowl as close as they have been over the last several years?
That's a good question.
Thank
you. Because when you knock on the door so many times, you probably question things that are even the right parts of the formula. You know, you start to, we need to mix everything around. We need to try something new, whether it be at running back in the running game and the O-line or the defense. And I think it felt like, you know, because I'm from Buffalo, obviously, it felt like the focus was going to be we need to affect the other team's quarterback more often.
Yeah.
We need to get faster on defense. We needed to get man cover guys, which they did with Maxwell Harrison in the first round out of Kentucky. And then now if you're going pass rusher, I think defensive tackle would make a ton of sense for them as well. But the run happened already in a lot of ways, unless it's TJ Sanders. I think these edge rushers that are available would fit the Bills really well.
Made a comment, Alan, about boom or bust, and that's what a lot of people are saying about about Stewart, that the Bengals drafted. They're like boom or bust for a lot of the reasons that we talked about. You know, the great athletic ability, you know, the testing numbers, combine phenomenon, but it doesn't translate on the football field in terms of production. So the boom or bust thing. And, you know, they're saying, okay, you mentioned it with the quarterback, Tyler Shuck. Shedeur Sanders. Honestly, I think one of the reasons that he has not been selected yet, watching tape on him, he is holding the football because I don't think he's sure of where to go with it.
Yeah.
I think when he goes with it, he goes to it accurately. He throws it to good spots. He does all those kind of things. But or he's holding it and saying, I could take that, but I'm going to wait and see if this opens up and I can make a bigger play. Because I'm telling you, the kid got hit a lot, but a lot of it was his fault. You know, if I'm an offensive lineman, it's like, dude, we can't pass protect for 5 seconds. I mean, it's just not going to happen. So I think a lot of NFL teams are saying, you know what, man, Sanders. I mean, our deal is third step, balls out, man. You know, and Tyler Shuck has been exposed to that type of thing a little bit more than Shedeur Sanders. I mean, he played for his dad, and his dad's like, yeah, man, go out and play that backyard football, make some big plays, Shedeur. You know, do it, son. Do whatever it takes. I mean, to me, I'm not sure that NFL head coaches and offensive coordinators are saying the style that they ran at Colorado and how he executed at Colorado, does it translate and transfer to the NFL as readily?
I got a stat for you then. 2.89 seconds was his career time to throw, which puts him in the bottom 20th percentile of all quarterback prospects going back 10 years. So,
that happens when you come in new like Deion Sanders did, and you basically cobble a team together through the transfer portal, right? All the offensive linemen are transfers. All the skill guys are transfers. There's no continuity there. It makes you a lot more unsure of where to go with the football,
That's a
where
good
your
point.
reads and where your skill guys are going to be. But then to that point, I don't think any of the quarterbacks that have gotten drafted got drafted out of the school that they started at when they came out of high school. All of those guys transferred somewhere else.
No,
Bills
that's true.
take TJ Sanders, defensive line. Again,
That's
SC,
Joe's guy.
Dave. That's your guy,
There you
Joe.
go.
all right. Yeah.
There you go.
Well, he was a really good player. Very, very strong prospect, if I can for a second. So good. We put a score on how strong of a prospect these guys are based on all the factors. Your testing, your size, your age, your performance data, your production data. TJ Sanders was 10th on our board overall.
Really?
Nice.
10th.
Nice.
He's a very good prospect. Watch him. We can rush the passer, can run, play run defense consistently. This is a good defensive line. South Carolina had a very, very active defensive line. Kyle Kennard's another guy we'll see.
Yeah.
Nick Minwari, Demetrius Knight, who we didn't mention yet for the Bengals at 49, which is, the middle linebacker, 17. You'll see him flash. These guys took their turns taking it to defenses. They got really good towards the end of the year.
Bengals going at 49. We are now at pick 42. Let's go back to Stewart one more time, Dave, because I want to tease this, because I know you sat down with Chris Sims, my very first national game that I did on CBS. Chris Sims was my analyst on that game, and enjoyed him immensely. He continues to really churn it up, both online and on the radio. Was listening to him even as I was driving in, and he was the first guy nationally that I had heard say, I loved the Bengals pick on Stewart. He says, people may be dissing this, but that was one of the things that we talked about in the first half hour, is that maybe Texas A&M had him doing some things that the Bengals won't have him doing, and I think in this system he works.
Yeah, and I've done many podcasts with Chris. He's very, very outstanding as a communicator. He knows his football, obviously. I mean, he's from the first family of football. Phil Sims, and then Chris and Matt, the two brothers. All three of them played the quarterback position. I'm not saying they're the Mannings of the first family of football with those three quarterbacks.
Fair enough.
But the Sims family is in there. They're in the mix. I think that he knows what he's looking at, and I think that he has confidence in Al Golden. He's an Al Golden fan.
Fair, and that may be more of it as to who's coaching this guy that they're picking.
Right. I think that he feels like we talked about earlier, that maybe Texas A&M had Stewart in a cage a little bit. It's like, all right, a guy with all of this immense physical talent, and you have him two-gapping, you have him lining up on the nose of another big old hog behemoth. I mean, why don't you take advantage of the mismatch that could present itself with this guy's size, speed, athletic ability? And I'm not saying, and Stewart held up. I mean, Stewart can two-gap an elephant or a rhino. I mean, the guy is strong. But, man, I think he feels like Al Golden will utilize him in multiple spots, because Al's all about versatility. And Al, you mentioned it earlier, he can line up, he can kick inside, he can line up as a 3 technique, outside shoulder guard, right on the guard in the 2 technique. He can go in a 1 technique in the gap. He can even line up in a 0 on the center and play nose. I mean, because when they drafted him, Jerry Montgomery was like, 1 technique, 3 tech, 5, 1 tech, 3 tech, 5 tech, 9 tech. It's all good. Talking about that versatility.
And there's not a lot of guys in this draft that can line up at all of those positions. And to this point about Texas A&M, They have 2 other defensive linemen that should come off the board sometime tonight. One of those, Nick Scorton, transferred in from Purdue, super productive at Purdue, was still a good player at Texas A&M. Production dropped there. I think there is some schematics to that, why his production dropped and why Stewart's production wasn't as high. And there's also 3 defensive linemen competing for sacks and tackles for loss there that are all draftable guys.
Yeah. I mean, I wonder if like the coaching staff, maybe it's like they have that old school mentality, we're going to line up and we're going to beat your butt at the line of scrimmage. We're going to take you right down the middle center and we're going to destroy you, and I don't know. I think Al Golden and Jerry Montgomery both cannot wait to develop this guy, find out what he can really do, and then utilize him, give him a toolbox and say, hey, we want you to disrupt, we want you to penetrate, we want you to wreak havoc, and let him go, man.
Okay, you've mentioned these 2 names. I'm going to go to you, Joe, on this because we have now changed what the Bengals have done coaching-wise on the defensive end. We've mentioned these names, that because of these names, this may be the pick. How much have the Bengals upgraded on the defensive coaching staff?
Well, I guess that's a matter of opinion because a lot of people liked Lou, right? And Lou, we had good moments with Lou Anarumo and that staff in big games in the playoffs. So, I don't want to discredit them completely, but sometimes the message gets stale. Sometimes you're missing something. Sometimes maybe it's just communication. The guys in the back half, especially the last season and a half, in the secondary, didn't seem like they were fully understanding what they were supposed to be doing. The checks, the calls, as the play is going on or in pre-snap, seemed to be an issue for them. And if you can get them to be on the same page and make things easier and simplify, and they talked about that over the last 5 weeks of the season, we simplified things and they started playing faster.
Yep.
And then the other part is I think the Bengals as an organization were a little frustrated. They spent a lot of picks on the defensive side of the ball, and none of them really took another step that you need to have, especially once you're paying Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase and T. Higgins. You need young defensive players to play well on that rookie contract. So they're like, all right, rip the Band-Aid off, start with it, bring back Al Golden, someone that they never lost touch with, that they really liked and liked the way he coached linebackers for them. And they're like, okay, if you can develop these young guys we have on here and the picks we give you, I think they're hopeful that's what the recipe is to get them back in order.
Mason Taylor, a tight end, taken by the Jets out of LSU at number 42. Dave, I have to have you talk on that because this is kind of your team, your take on the defensive changes.
Yeah, I mean, I think Al Golden is a brilliant defensive mind. I think Jerry Montgomery is a hell of a guy to have develop a young player like Stewart. What Al Golden believes in is what Paul Brown was all about. The old KISS theory. Keep it simple, stupid,
Right.
It's like don't overly complicate things. Have what Paul Brown was so good at, he'd put up on the board, okay, here's our run plays this week, and there'd be 5. Here's our pass plays, and there'd be 7. But we're going to do these runs and these passes out of all these different formations, and then we're going to motion to other formations, and we're going to have different personnel groupings. It's going to be the same blocking assignments for you guys up front in the offensive line, but we're going to have a running back line up in the slot instead of a slot receiver. We're going to flex the tight end. He was so creative in how he got to the play, and the window dressing, and all the things that go along with it. That's what confused the defense. The defense was trying to do all this communicating. All it takes is one guy to be a step out of place, and you got something cooking. And that's what he was so good at. But for the offensive line, man, it was like, it wasn't Encyclopedia Britannica that you had to learn. It was just a nice little pamphlet, on a weekly basis. And there was a carryover on a weekly basis of things that here's what we're good at. These are the things we're going to do. And then every once in a while it would be, all right, here's a weakness in their defense, or here's something that we're doing really well, and let's do a play action pass off of that. There'd be some manipulation going on, but the core part of the offense was all season long, something that you could, repetition bred comfort level. And I think that's what Al's all about defensively. He's got a few things
that he
likes to do, but he's going to do it out of a ton of different looks, man.
Sorry to interrupt. Alfred
No
Collins,
problem.
defensive line out of Texas, taken by the San Francisco 49ers at pick number 43. We got to get to a giveaway. Remember, Hashtag First Star Logistics is what you want. So let's do that first as we get to this 8 o'clock hour. The first name drawn here is going to be entered into that grand prize at the end of our broadcast. And that was our winner that was there before, Bloomfield before. Who do we got next going into the grand prize drawing? That's going to be Logan Lyles. Nice face, Logan. Logan's going to the grand
somebody
prize.
react to this, please?
Yeah, we're in the handlebar. Everybody going. Logan Lyles is going forward. I think nobody's happy for Logan except for Logan.
Is he here?
This is our second one that's going in. This is everybody who's watching that's put in the hashtag as we're moving forward. Bales. Bales is a big boy. Bales is going into the grand prize drawing. That is a golf cart, a Bengals golf cart at the end. But let's go now to our drawing for our Andre Oshivash signed jersey. That was hashtag Andre Oshivash. If you got it spelled correctly, you got a chance at being in here. Let's move the wheel of fortune forward for Andre Oshivash. This is our 8 o'clock hour. You're listening to the third annual First Star Logistics Bengals Draft Party here at the Handlebar at Great American Ballpark. And our first winner, Will Delaney, has a signed jersey from Yoshi. We got one more going, Dave. Spin the wheel. Bring it on, baby. One more time here at the Handlebar. And our second winner in the second half hour is Scott Carpenter. Congratulations. Nice to have you all online. Use your hashtags. Hashtag First Star Logistics. And what is our 8 o'clock half hour hashtag? I'm looking for our 8 o'clock half hour hashtag. That'll be, signed ball by Jamar. Is that right, Dave?
Nice.
No? Are you shaking
we
your
got
head?
Bengals Draft Party. It looks like from the sheet there.
Our
That's
Bengals Draft Party?
8 o'clock.
Yep, that one right.
Heck yeah, Bengals Draft Party. You know what? We're giving away a Bengals golf bag. Thank you, Joe, for
We're a
correcting
team
me.
up here.
We got a Bengals Draft Party is your hashtag that you want to do. The giveaway tool, get it on in. And we will have a hashtag Bengals Draft Party for a Bengals golf bag. We've already given away Yoshivash. There's your hashtag that you want to use all night long. Hashtag First Star Logistics as we move forward. What picks did I miss? Anything? No?
Nothing yet.
All right, Dallas Cowboys on the clock. We're moving towards 49. Anything in what we've seen so far change the idea? We haven't had a whole lot of offensive linemen come off the board.
I mean,
right?
there's a plethora of offensive linemen to choose from.
Your number one pick right now, Dave. If you're going offensive line, your pick right now for the Bengals. If you had your choice, I'm not saying what they're going to do. This is just what you would like.
Yeah, I have not been diligent in keeping up who's on the board. Who's
All right,
Tate Ratledge is still there, Dave.
Who is?
Tate Ratledge?
Ratledge,
Tate?
my guy's still
Tate's
there.
your guy?
He's still there. You're
He's
good.
still there from Georgia. I'd be happy with that.
Okay.
I'd be happy with that. I mean, he's maybe not the prettiest athlete in the world, but this dude, man,
He's big.
he'll fight you. He's big, man. He's a big old horse. Physicality's his middle name. You know you've been in a game when he gets those big old muckers on you and hits you in the chest and locks those elbows out. You know you've been stoned a little bit now.
Jake, tell me this now because we're talking about arm length, which ends up being a big thing with linemen. How much do you grade that in after what you played, where you were, and what the game is now? How much is arm length a big deal on the offensive line?
Yeah, I think it's a factor. But my favorite player in the draft, Will Campbell, is an alligator arm. I mean, he's got short arms, but Will Campbell has unbelievable feet, and he's always in position. And kind
You've always said feet mean more.
Yeah, it starts with the feet, ends with the hands, you know. And I do think though that arm length is an advantage. I mean, if you do have a 34-inch, arm length and you're 75-inch wingspan or more, I think that is a big plus. Wingspan meaning hold your arms out side to side and measure from the tip of your middle finger to the tip of your middle finger kind of deal. See how long that wingspan is.
Another edge rusher off the board.
Izaraku, he's good.
Yeah.
I would have been happy with him in the first round, to be honest with you. There's a Florida State game you can put on the tape. 14 pressures, 4 sacks, absolutely dominant. Plays the left side, the right side. He's one of the best run defending defensive ends, and he's 6'2" and some change. Long arms, great wingspan. I think his agility is off the charts. I think he had the best shuttle and cone times combination in this draft class of all the edge rushers. He bends the corner when he's running around that arc, man.
I'll tell you what, a 4-sack game is rare. When you have a 4-sack game,
And they were trying to take him out, and they couldn't.
and I've got Mike Reed from Penn State. My rookie year had to try to learn how to pass protect against Mike Reed, and this guy was cat quick. I mean, only about 255, 260, getting that frog stance, with leaning back on his haunches, with his head up. And man, his first step quickness was like unbelievable. I saw him in 1 year, 1974, 2 different times. He had 5-sack games, 2 different games. I'm like, what the hell?
If they would have counted him back then.
Oh my, yeah. It's really amazing when you have a guy like that. A 4-sack. I mean, those poor offensive linemen, they were ready to turn in their scholarships after giving up 4 sacks that day.
And Mike Reed could play the piano too.
He could.
Number 1 hit.
You add him to Micah Parsons, that's kind of a scary deal right there.
Mike Reed, Stranger in My House. He wrote that.
He did.
He wrote that song. He ended up not only he was a concert pianist. I mean, so rookie year, he would entertain the troops at lunchtime, get on the piano and start banging it out. Well, all of a sudden, it's like, hey, you guys, you want to go to the Symphony, Cincinnati Symphony? Mike Reed's performing. Mike Reed's performing at the Cincinnati Symphony. Comes out in the tuxedo, sits down, man, bangs the keys. It's like, what the heck? And he taped every single knuckle on his hand, taped his hands up to protect those bad boys because he knew that was going to be his lifetime deal.
With like football tape? He like football taped his...
Yeah, just like Johnson & Johnson tape, just tape them up, make sure that they didn't dislocate. I mean, we all got dislocated knuckles and fingers and
all
stuff.
of this trivia coming out of Bengals Draft Party. I Can't Make You Love Me If You Don't. Bonnie Raitt's number 1 hit, penned by Mike Reed.
How about it?
There you have it.
Yes.
Now you have your trivia.
That you might win a golf bag and
the
come
other
home
one-
with a whole bunch of
block
new
him.
The other one he wrote was Inside.
The other
wrote a
pass
lot of
rusher off
stuff.
the board.
Yeah.
Incredibly talented dude. All right, here we
It's
go.
like another
We
Ohio
got,
State guy.
We got 3 more picks, that means.
yeah,
Man,
Tuimoloau out. Ohio State having a day in the second round
they are.
as he moves out. So he goes to the Colts. Rams, Cardinals, Raiders before the Bengals. As we move forward, offensive line, I mean, what they're listed, offensive line, cornerback, defensive line, linebacker, safety. I don't know whether the order matters to this point because, Dave, as you said, now that we've gotten through here, what's happening in the war room as we speak with these guys 4 picks away? And you even said, I'm okay if these guys trade down. I'd like to see some more picks.
I would. I mean, there's still some quality football players on the board. And if you can double down, I mean, why not? And again, they don't have their 7th round pick. They lost that 7th round pick in the trade they consummated with the Chicago Bears involving Khalil Herbert. So that's rare for them to not have a draft pick every single round, at least. So I would not have any kind of problem if they picked up an additional here in day 2.
Big agree over here.
Big agree?
Big agree. I think I don't want them to do something off the map really here, and they've had the tendency to do that. I think if they could trade back and still get one of the guys that they're looking at right now, I think it's a big possibility.
Dave, I know you talked to some guys and saying they were banging the phones in the first round and saying, does anybody want to move up? Are we in that mode right now where there's so much available that guys don't feel like they have to make a phone call?
Yeah, the only thing that the Bengals would probably be hoping right now, is there a player that's sliding that a team has a desperate need for that specific position group?
I got you.
And there's a guy that was, oh man, we thought on our board he was mid-first, late first at the worst case scenario, and he's still here potentially at 49. That's the only you have to have a partner to trade back with. Somebody needs to want to have to trade up, and they didn't find any partners. I think the fact that, like we talked about, from 10 to 50, you got a lot of guys, and there's not a fall off the cliff, problem there in terms of projected performance in the National Football League. So people are like, you know what? I'll sit here, take my chances. If that guy doesn't make it, this guy's pretty damn close, or I'll go to this position and this guy's really good. That's the kind of draft this is. There aren't necessarily any Hall of Famers, but you never know if your guy draft is going to be a Hall of Famer. I mean, you can't be a soothsayer and look into the future like that. But there are a lot of damn good football players, and there was a slight drop maybe after the first seven, in a lot of people's opinions, first 5, 6, 7, or whatever. But not off the cliff. And then from 10 to 50, you can do a lot of business, man.
Yeah. Yeah. Joe, I'm sorry. I'm doing it again. We're at 47 and Shedeur Sanders. No. And I don't see anybody listed past 50 who's going, I got to have a quarterback. Does Shedeur Sanders slip out of the second round too?
Well, this is when you trade, right? We're talking about the Bengals trading back. Hey, maybe he's still there at 49. That might be a good thing. And then someone offers you a little package to move back. Sure.
Yeah, but nobody's been jumping at the bit to get Shedeur Sanders
That's
now.
fair.
Why is somebody going to jump at the bit now?
Yeah, I mean,
because now the contract's real cheap.
Yeah.
I bet the Bengals are banging the phones big time with that very thought.
They're selling Shedeur Sanders right now.
Absolutely.
They're like, we got Joe Burrow. We know what good
Yeah.
quarterback play looks like. You want Shedeur.
No,
Come on.
in addition to that, Jalen Milroe's still around. He was invited
That's
to
right.
the draft. He's still there.
Yeah.
And so a quarterback needy team could come up.
How does this Jaden Milroe go before Shedeur Sanders?
How about Jalen Milroe, third fastest player at the combine? Not third fastest quarterback, third fastest player
Yeah, it's pretty
at
crazy.
the combine. Are you not? That's as a quarterback with that body that dude has. I mean, at some point, somebody, I'd almost be like, hey, how about him? Come on up to 49, pick him. Pick him. Not forget Shedeur. Shedeur's old news. Let's go Milroe. Let's get it done.
Interesting. Well, I mean, the Cardinals are probably after another edge. You may have another defensive player go off the board. We go here. I don't know whether Raiders are looking wide receiver as you move forward, but it would be doubtful to me that anybody, Dave, Joe, Allen, that you have picked that you want the Bengals to have is going to be. Does that give you more impetus to trade back kind of thing?
To me, I don't know. I'm looking at all the resources that were spent offensively, all the money and time and everything that was put into the offensive side of the football. This should be a defensive draft. Like we talked about earlier, it's almost 50-50 in the first round, offensive and defensive players selected. But I'm speaking specifically for the Cincinnati Bengals. There should be a focus on the defensive side of the football more than the offensive. Okay, so I'm thinking if there's an edge guy that is slid, I mean, man, you can't have enough good pass rushers. Is there a good interior guy? Is there a good cover corner? And then maybe I think about offensive line. I think initially I'm thinking defense. I'm not going to rule out, man, is there an offense? Are the guards that are left?
Are you saying we might be surprised here at 49?
I think we might
potentially, yeah, potentially.
Okay.
Yep.
Did the Rams just trade in? So we had a trade already.
No, the Rams are there. They were there.
Okay, well, they were there. So, it was the Cardinals.
Yeah, Cardinals are on the clock. The Rams pick was in, so I kind of jumped ahead just a little bit. They're waiting, and your pick is
tight end off the
tight end. So
board.
that's another position that's not.
How about
not
that? Now that's a
4
surprise.
tight ends?
That's a surprise.
4, man.
I thought he would go in round 2.
Man.
He's a big body blocker. He moves really well. Team saw him at the combine, and I think they were like, oh, yeah, this is what a potential tight end 1 looks like. And I expect him to go round 2 the whole time.
Man,
See, this is the kind of analysis you get here. Joe knows everything about it. They're showing his
Right.
proposal and his dogs, and we're getting
Yeah.
real analysis.
I'm
That's what
telling you,
get.
not having an opportunity, looking at the video, like you said, Terrence Ferguson, man, he did it right.
Yeah.
I mean, his woman, she's never going to forget that proposal now. Great setting, right before the draft. Now I'm going to take care of you, baby. I'm going in early in the draft. I'm going to be a maybe play in the league for a decade. That dog will hunt all day, every day.
Well, speaking of dogs, 2 Labradoodles that go along with Osos, one of their names. Yeah.
How about
Just to let you know. We had, wasn't it Pecco who was also always saying, "Hey, Oso, hey, Oso."
Yes, it was.
We had
Domata Pecco.
we had Terrence Ferguson 48th on our board, so him going here at that spot
Is perfect.
right around the range.
Yeah.
Okay, so he goes at 46 instead of 48. Cardinals on the clock. Raiders before them. And Dave says the Bengals phones are clicking and running as we move through. Is there anything at 49? Alan, I'll start with you. What would you be disappointed with if the Bengals reached?
It would have to be something off the wall positionally, I think, because there's some clear needs here and there's good players at the positions of need.
Right.
So if you take maybe running back,
Or wide
one of
receiver.
something
or
like
whatever.
that here, that would be the only thing that would. I think there's enough
Wide
good
receiver
players.
might be a disappointment.
Yeah.
Yeah,
There's
yeah.
Will Johnson.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh,
Okay.
there it is.
There it is.
Yep.
How about
so that
that?
also takes away
Man.
some temptation there because I think there may have been if he
I
had
agree.
come down.
I agree 100,000%. That's so I was, edge, corner, that guy
That
was,
would have been the guy.
That would have been the guy.
So
And
now
I didn't want to say it and
Mike,
jinx it.
Mike Green becomes the tempting. What do we? And there's Joe. Do you know much about the off the field stuff there?
Yeah.
How much that's causing the slide?
Yeah, he had some issues coming out of high school before he went to Virginia. He had to sign a zero tolerance policy at Virginia, and then eventually had to leave there and go to Marshall,
Oh.
and where he had to sign a no tolerance policy there, and became a team captain. So that makes it weird. And he may be on some teams' boards and may not be. He's a top 15 player in this class if he's clean.
I'll tell you, looking at him though, he is a force in terms of pass rush. I mean, he's got 15 sacks this year.
17 and a half.
17 and a half. All right, so he can rush the quarterback. But when I look at him line up, 2 gap, an offensive tackle, he's going backwards. He's not that type of a.
He's a smaller guy.
He's a smaller guy, and I think he can be taken advantage of in the run game. But if it's handled properly and from a schematic standpoint, they make life a little easier for him and don't put him in that kind of situation where it's like you're going to have to go 2 gap this behemoth at 335 pounds at the tackle position. He can't do it.
Raiders have traded the pick, it says, to Houston.
So what does Houston want? What does Houston want at 48 so bad? Because the Bengals are like, oh, crap.
I know.
Somebody just
I know.
picked. Golly, what did we miss on? Because the phones were ringing and somebody wants this right now.
I wonder if the Bengals were trying to make the trade and the Raiders got it done with Houston instead of the Cincinnati Bengals. I wonder if they were in the mix banging the phones right there. I wonder
Houston
if everybody's
needs
looking for the
offensive
same
line.
guy.
Yeah.
They need offensive linemen. If they really wiped the whole slate clean this year.
This could be a nursery spot.
Yeah,
maybe.
who is slid that everybody has got a big interest in? That's the key. Who is it? An offensive lineman? Will Johnson went. Is it another corner? I mean,
The highest guy on the consensus board remaining is 17, Mike Green, Shadur Sanders at 28, and Siobhan Revel at 39. So it's really only Mike Green that would still be sliding. But if it's to jump the Bengals for an offensive lineman, that makes a ton of sense.
yeah. I have a feeling it might be an old lineman.
Do the Texans need a pass rusher? Is Mike Green a possibility? Would they move up from Mike Green?
Maybe. Everyone needs a pass rusher, right?
Yeah.
But I think if they're going to move up, though, because they didn't, they got Jaden Higgins at the top of round 2. I think they still need offensive line help bad.
Is Derek Harmon still there?
Derek Harmon, no, went to the
Steelers
in
Pittsburgh?
Yep.
Okay.
How about a Darius Alexander out of Toledo on the defensive line? Is he high enough to be picked there?
Yeah, he is. A lot of people think he should go in round 2. He's an older prospect, 25, also has production issues coming out of Toledo. I think that's going to cause him to fall a little bit, but he played all across that defensive line from the 0 all the way out to 5 tech. And he even in the Senior Bowl was playing some defensive end and had some pass rush pressure from that spot.
But he's not sparkly enough to trade for it at
I don't think so.
48, is he? Well, I mean, this is intriguing.
I think they could have held on and probably, if that's who they wanted, they could have hung on and probably still had a shot.
I'm very interested in what Houston's doing here to move forward. And is this another gosh dang it for the Bengals because the guy that they wanted went right before them kind of thing?
Just like Walter Nolan,
Uh-huh.
one that seems like there's somebody is leaving them at the altar, man. It's like, oh, so close. I mean, I wonder who everybody's. The fact that it's taking a little bit longer now, I think everybody is banging the phones for somebody or a couple of somebodies. I mean, whatever it is, that a lot of teams have interest in the common denominator, it seems like.
Well, the defense is gone. We had a lot of Buckeyes going in the second round. We've had a lot of running backs go. The edge rushers have been popular. We finally got a corner off that we had talked about probably an hour ago that hits 2 picks before. Texans pick is now in, and we're waiting for them to finish eating in the commercial before we go back to the draft board, but they are on the clock. Yeah, the Bengals are on the clock now as the pick is in to move forward, and you have to wonder whether they already know what this is, that Houston wanted something that we wanted or they didn't want something that we wanted. Is there still a potential, Dave, that they move down? Is it too late to move down? I mean, Houston got this right before that pick came up.
Right.
So
Why couldn't we trade it with Houston, right?
Yeah.
So,
I mean, that would be rare for back-to-back picks to move down.
No. I just meant since they wanted to move up, if the
Yeah.
Bengals were calling and said to Houston, hey, we have 49, and they found a better deal at 48.
Right. But I mean, for two teams, to have a trade in back-to-back selections in the second round, from a historical standpoint, I don't know how many times that's happened. I mean, that would be a rarity. So I do think that this trade is obliterating. I'm sure the Bengals phones are dying down a little bit because this trade is probably obliterating some of the interest because this one is going on. If this trade's consummated, it looks like the Bengals phones may die a little bit.
This makes me think maybe the Bengals decided to stay, and then Houston jumped them for an offensive lineman. If this pick is an offensive lineman, that'll confirm that conspiracy theory.
well, and it will still surprise me if it goes that way. But you know what? We're all about the surprises.
Okay, so what about? I mean, I still think that my posture. They've spent a lot of money in the offense. They beefed up the offense. With the draft, I think they feel like they need to balance it out defensively.
Yeah.
I mean, does it happen where? I mean, we've been talking edge, we're talking corner. Would it be a safety? Would it be a linebacker? I mean, who's left in those areas, in those categories?
Owen Daniels
I think
at the
a pretty
mic.
good pool.
Yeah,
Yes, no.
I think there's a lot of linebackers left, a lot of safeties as well.
Yeah, guys like Demetrius Knight, Barrett Carter, and at safety, Kevin Winston Jr. From out of Penn State. And then, of course, Tate Ratledge. There's Ursary. You were right.
Yep.
Good call.
So Ursary goes.
So I don't think the Bengals were going – I don't think they were going to take him at 49. But it is interesting to jump the Bengals for an offensive lineman when everyone believes you're going to take one.
Would you have taken Tate over Ursary, Dave? Flip of a coin?
Yeah, I'll tell you, I'm just going back to what Al Golden said on his presser, Brad, here recently. We need to beef up the defense. We need interior defensive linemen. We need linebackers. We need safety. We need to get better up the middle.
Yeah.
Good defenses, like in baseball, shortstop, second base, or catcher, shortstop, second base, center field.
Yep.
Good up the middle defensively. The Bengals, they drafted a defensive tackle. Maybe they go linebacker this round, they go safety another round. I mean, maybe they, if they get another pick, maybe they go defensive tackle, linebacker, safety, and then an offensive lineman in there at some point. But I think they're showing signs of
Pick is in.
That was fast. I think this might be Ratledge because
I'm hoping.
The safeties
Are you
and the
calling it?
The safeties and linebackers seem to all be sliding together. Whereas if Ursary starts an offensive line run and you like Tate Ratledge, maybe he's not.
But how many linebackers have been selected? There may be a really, really good linebacker.
Are you calling
prospect
linebacker
that they like? I think there's probably interior offensive linemen, linebackers that they like that are left on the board. I would not be shocked if it's a linebacker based on what Al Golden was saying. I think he tipped a little bit.
Should we call it then?
Boy, that was fast.
Crumrise
Crummy.
representing the Bengals.
Here comes Crummy.
All right, so it's going to be a defensive player, Crumrise there, man. It's going to be a linebacker or a safety.
They still named the Lineman of the Year award in the high school state of Wisconsin.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
Everyone's quiet.
All right, Crummy, let's go. Everybody's quiet, waiting on the pick to come in.
He was a pain in the neck to practice against, I can tell you that.
Head down. Bengals fans ready.
Demetrius Knight,
Nice.
linebacker.
There we go.
He nailed
Linebacker.
it. Yeah,
How
good
about
call.
that?
Good call.
Demetrius Knight.
Up the middle.
Yep. Get the defense. I mean,
All right.
Al
Talk
Golden,
to me
listen to
about
him, man.
Demetrius.
I got you. All right, so he was 83rd on the consensus big board. So
Really?
Yeah, he was. He was a little bit later. And I'll give you the issues why. So he's a 6-year player at South Carolina or in college, 25.3 years old as of today. He's an older prospect, 6'1" and 5'8", 235. He has an 80.5-inch wingspan, really
Ooh, he's
long
long, man.
arms. He ran a 4.58 at the combine. Good speed, relative athletic score. His testing performance put him just under the 82nd percentile. Production in the 74th percentile. What does he do on tape as they're showing it right now? He is a downhill run defender that is actually really good in coverage. You see how fast he clicks and closes and flies to the ball carrier. When he hits with power. He hits with intensity. We're talking about Shamar Stewart in the first round, how much intensity he plays with and how hot his motor runs. Demetrius Knight is that at linebacker as well. So the Bengals wanted to get tougher. They wanted to get more physical. They wanted to shore up the middle of the defense. Demetrius Knight helps do that. And I think he's a good blitzer. You see it right there, right on time as the clip
Am I
is playing.
counting right? This is the third South Carolina defensive player in the second round.
Yeah, TJ Sanders,
so, yeah.
Nicky Memori.
Yep.
We'll get
There's
Kyle
gonna
Kennard
be-
at some
yep.
point.
Be more.
And I tell you, I think too, that South Carolina, a good defensive football team. This guy, Demetrius Knight, older player, made all the calls.
Yes.
I mean, you got to have a guy who's the quarterback in the huddle. You know, the quarterback obviously is the quarterback in the huddle for the offense. Usually it's the middle backer, the inside backer for the defense. This guy knows football. He's been around it a long time. He's got a lot of snaps. He's got a lot of experience. I think Al Golden looks at him and says, he can be my mouthpiece. I mean, you know, when I communicate with him, I know Demetrius Knight is going to have the attention of everybody the way that it needs to be had, and he's going to communicate things the way they need to be communicated.
Do you think there's anything interesting about this? As we were talking about Mike Reed and his musical prowess, that Demetrius Knight is a distant relative of Gladys Knight.
How about it?
And Aretha Franklin.
How about
To
it?
go along with. I
I
don't
gotta
know
write
whether
that
there's
down.
something going in with this as well, but there's something odd. Do we like the pick? Give me a grade, Alan.
I do like the pick. I think it fills a need.
Grade it.
Utah.
Would you get an A on this pick?
I'm going to give it an A-. I think because there were higher guys on the board overall value-wise,
Gotcha.
but you fill a need. I do think at some point there was going to be a run on linebacker, so you get the guy you
Right.
want. As you mentioned, you want a guy who can make the calls, be a quarterback on defense. This guy was a high school quarterback. They played 4 years starter as a high school quarterback. I think you like those guys on your defense.
But I said, what don't you want? And you said, don't reach. Did we reach for a guy listed at 84?
I didn't want to reach on a position,
Gotcha.
take a position that isn't
Fair
a
enough.
position of need. This one fills a very specific need, and it's a guy. I think with a new defensive staff, new defensive coordinator, I think you got to give him a couple things to work with, right? You got to give him a couple toys to play with. So I like that they gave the pick to Al.
How about this? Jermaine Pratt has vocally come out and said, I want traded. So if Jermaine Pratt, if they have said to him, go out and see what the market is. I mean, that's what they told Trey Hendrickson. And Trey Hendrickson, there was some interest out there, but not interest at the first round level. And it takes two to tango. And the Bengals are not going to give Trey Hendrickson up for less than a first rounder. What team is going to give a first round pick and pay him $30 million a year?
Right.
So no trade has happened yet. And I don't think it will. I think they'll sign him, give him a bonus and $15 million of this year, get his salary and bonus up to about $30 million. He's like 15.8, 15.2, or 16.2 or whatever. So, I mean, you know, they take care of it. They take care of it in that regard. If Jermaine Pratt, there's no interest out there, but he's obviously unhappy. Al Golden drafted him. Al Golden was the linebacker coach when Jermaine Pratt was drafted by the Cincinnati Bengals. They have not drafted any linebackers since Logan Wilson and Jermaine Pratt were drafted
Okay.
in that year. So I don't know. Maybe Al's saying, all right, Jermaine, you're unhappy. You don't like what's going on. I'm going to cover my bases and get a guy in case it doesn't work out and you're no longer a Cincinnati Bengal.
Joe, we spent all this time leading up while we were in the 40s talking offensive line. Did we reach for a linebacker?
We did. And that happens. And sometimes those players turn out to be really good players. Sometimes, the value isn't correct and you want to take it back. Considering that they were also there was other linebackers on the board, Barrett Carter, there was Kelvin Winston and Tate Ratledge. I would rather have gone the guard route with Tate Ratledge. I think you protect Joe Burrow when you can.
Yeah.
To give you an example, he was 86 on the consensus for Demetrius Knight. He was 145th on ours, that takes in all the production and athletic testing. And because he's 25 years old, usually that hurts guys upside. Now, that probably means he's plug and play. But at the same time, I did not think another linebacker after Carson Schwarzenegger was worth a second-round pick in this class. This is considered a poor linebacker class. And when you get ahead of it like this, I thought the value in this class was going to be in rounds 4, 5, and 6. And they went ahead and got their guy.
That's what I was going to ask you. Do you think that they felt like the run on linebackers was going to start? We might as well be at the front of it and get the guy that we want or whatever. And linebacker, offensive line, looking ahead to the third round, what do you think that, as you look at it, you say, oh boy, you're looking at every team, what they're thinking about picking on your board and all that. What's going to be there in the third round? Will there be more interior offensive linemen or will there be more interior linebackers in the third round? Maybe that was part of the thought process too.
I think there'll be a lot of offensive linemen still there based on our grading and everything projected. But still, I don't know that anyone had Demetrius Knight as a top 50 player. And for this class, we were told, like you've been saying, 15 to 50, you're going to get a similarly graded player. Well, the Bengals kind of punted that and said, we're going to take a third-round guy at the highest. So I can't give them a good grade and say you got good value. I like Demetrius Knight on tape. I really did. But you have to find the correct value for what that means. And I think it was third-round range.
All right, I got to do business, guys, because we got a giveaway. This was our half hour for hashtag Bengals Draft Party. Hope you got in. If you got in, you got a spot. Do we want to do Draft Party first? Yeah, is that a yes? My lights are getting in my eyes. All right, we're going to do Draft Party first. So here's your run. If you were in on hashtag Bengals Draft Party, this will give you a Bengals golf bag, and your winner is Alex Trapp.
Oh, from the Von Trapp family.
Congratulations, Alex. Sing your way on the golf course. Right. That's your one. Do we get 2 golf bags, Dave? You got another one? Heck yeah, we got another golf bag. Bengals golf bag going through.
Kevin's getting it done, man.
Come on.
Kevin's loading it up. Golf bags, golf carts.
Oh, no. That's our next hashtag. We're with just one golf bag? Is that what it was?
This one.
This one? What did I miss? We got one more? You're coming in? You're still working on it? I'm just going with the flow here.
Computer glitch. Oh, Bales again. Oh, no, not Bales. Bales is bailing out. He's bailing out now.
This is is this for our golf cart? Okay, we got 2 more coming up for our golf cart. So we only gave away 1 golf bag. These will be entered into the grand prize because hashtag First Star Logistics will get you into that, and I kick things. Nice. You are entered into the grand prize for the Bengals golf cart that we're moving forward on. And 1 more will be entered in. This will be at the end of the show. You got to hang around for the Bengals golf cart. Isaac. Oh, Scott Carpenter. Hold it. Did Scott get in once already? I know I've seen Scott's name. He may be lucky again with another one moving forward. So congratulations.
I kick things. You know who that was?
Who is it?
Evan McPherson.
He watched the Bengals golf cart.
He's using his code name.
All right, let's get our next half hour's hashtag, which is going to be a signed Jamar Chase football. Hence our hashtag Jamar Chase. That will be the one that you want for this half hour. But before, we've got to do some money.
Yeah.
Who wants to get some money? We are going to the money machine. Can I just get up, Dave, and go? Let's get up and go. I'm just going to get up and go.
Money.
Have you already picked somebody for our money? right, mic's on. Do all of these people actually get this? Money Machine. Oh my gosh. Let me see. Does she know yet? She knows? Sarah Pickle. Sarah Pickle, let's get a hand for Sarah Pickle, who is donating money to cancer-free kids. Sarah, come on here. Come here. Before you jump in.
Yeah.
Why the donation to cancer-free kids?
Because, well, one, I'm a physician, so I want kids to live cancer-free lives. And if I'm going in this booth, they're getting something for it.
I was the very first MC for the very first cancer-free kids banquet. I can't wait to see how much you can pull in. Have you done this before? Have a strategy for how much money you're going to put away.
So I've been given multiple recommendations.
All right,
I'm probably going to take none of them.
All right.
I've been told to use my shirt as like some sort of kind of canopy.
You don't like that idea?
Well, I'm ready. I put on the shirt, so
Okay.
I'm ready to do it. I was told not to step on the money. I'm going to try my hardest. This is for the kids.
Sarah? How about a round for Sarah as we get ready? I'm going to let you in, and we're going to turn it on once we're in. Let them come up. Are you ready, Sarah? And let the money machine go. You get 30 seconds once this thing goes. Pop that baby up. Get him in. Get him in. Get him in the bag. All the money, she says, going to cancer-free kids. A physician trying to rid kids of cancer. 10 seconds, Sarah. 10 seconds. You got to go. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Sarah, the money's down. And a big hand for Sarah. I liked it.
Hey.
How'd you feel about it?
It's kind of like cleaning up after my kids, so it was fine. I did
Fantastic.
fine. Yeah.
We're going to total the whole thing up. Big hand for Sarah Pickle. All right, I'm giving the mic back. Dave, it's on you right now.
Are you a diehard Bengals fan craving more than just highlights? Dive deep into the heart of the team with Dave Lapham's In the Trenches, presented by First Star Logistics. Join Bengals icon Dave Lapham, a 10-year NFL veteran and the team's color analyst since 1986, as he delivers unparalleled Bengals analysis. In the Trenches features exclusive interviews with current players and coaches, giving you an inside look at game strategy, team dynamics, and behind-the-scenes stories you won't find anywhere else. Plus, Dave brings in top NFL experts like Chris Sims, Charles Davis, Solomon Wilcots, and Chris Collinsworth to break down the biggest plays and predict the future of the Bengals and the AFC North. Get the edge every week. Subscribe to Dave Lapham's In the Trenches on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts today.
Bengals fans, tired of the same old post-game chatter? Want real insight beyond the scoreboard? Then you need Bengals on the Brain with Joe Goodberry, presented by First Star Logistics. Joe Goodberry isn't just a fan, he's a die-hard Bengals football analyst. Every week, Joe dives deep into the Bengals game film, breaking down the plays that mattered, revealing hidden strategies, and uncovering the true impact of individual performances. Get ready for post-game analysis like you've never heard before, player evaluations that go beyond the stats, and the most in-depth Bengals draft coverage on the internet. Don't just watch the Bengals, understand the Bengals. Subscribe to Bengals on the Brain with Joe Goodberry on the First Star Media Group's YouTube channel. Get smart, get obsessed, get Bengals on the Brain.
Dave Lapham here, and every day I am grateful for my experience to have played professional football. As a player, I realized self-motivation, leadership, and appreciating your teammates are key. At First Star Logistics, you can use those same attributes to create the life you want for you and your family. Build your future by working hard like I did. You'll see results both on and off the field. Call First Star Logistics today and be part of our winning team. Welcome back. We're having our draft party here at Great American Ballpark, courtesy of First Star Logistics. They've done a heck of a job putting this whole thing together. We've been talking football. We've been talking football quite a bit, and we've been talking about the NFL draft. And we've got a guest right now who is a great guy. Not only a tremendous football player, but an even better person, an individual who does things the right way. There's no question about it. We're talking about tight end Eric All. Eric All, you're kind of a Cincinnati kid as such.
Yes, sir.
Tell us about what draft day was like for you. I mean, when you were getting ready for the NFL draft, how much interest did you think the Cincinnati Bengals had in you?
I really didn't know because a lot of the teams were telling me a lot of the same things. And I remember just, loving Coach Taylor and Coach Casey. And I was praying that that they were getting me, but, I didn't really think they were going to because it was early on and I was expecting to go later because of my injuries at the time. So
the Cincinnati Bengals at the tight end position are well stocked. I mean, they got some veteran players there.
Yes.
Not really anticipating a whole lot of activity in the draft with the tight end position. Maybe college free agent signing or something like that after the draft to have somebody compete in training camp. Tell us about the tight end group. You mentioned James Casey. He played the position in the National Football League. He knows what he's talking about.
Yes.
He's unbelievably detail-oriented. What's it like playing football at the tight end position with James Casey as your coach?
It's honestly a true blessing because he expects nothing but perfection. He wants you to get your job done. He wants you to know what you got done, or he wants you to know what you need to have done, and he does everything he can to just make you the best player you can. And it's just a blessing because he actually cares. Like he won't just throw you out there and leave you clueless, and he puts you in a great position for you to touch the field. So he's a great coach.
When I was a rookie, Paul Brown was our head coach, and he would test us. He and Bill Walsh, the offensive coordinator at the time, would give us tests on game plan on a weekly basis. In the upper left-hand corner were grades for your assignment grades for your plays.
Yes.
Upper right-hand corner was a grade for the assignments for everybody else. So their whole mindset was, don't want you to just tunnel vision on what you're doing, want you to understand the whole panoramic picture, and that'll help you realize how important it is to get done what you're supposed to do.
Yes.
James Casey seems to be that kind of guy. I mean, he's not just, here's what you're going to do. He wants you to see the whole picture, doesn't he, and understand why you're doing it?
Exactly. And it's not only is it you need to understand what the offensive line is doing and the receivers is doing and what the running backs are doing, but he also makes sure that what the defense is doing, and more importantly, what you need to be doing. But he definitely hones in on in the front, knowing where the DBs are aligned and who's in the game. Is there a nickel out there, things like that, and that truly helps you understand the game at a greater level for sure.
He was excited when you were drafted by the Cincinnati Bengals, even more excited when he started to work with you and saw what kind of a player you were, both physically and mentally. I mean, he was geeked up, and it was like, all right, I'm not just going to have plays at the end of the line of scrimmage as a tight end for Eric All. I'm going to have him in the backfield as the fullback. He's going to run routes. He's going to blitz pick up. He's going to pass protect. He's going to detach and go in the slot as a receiver. I mean, he had you doing a lot of things, which is a compliment because he knows, once again, that you could handle it not only physically but mentally. What kind of a compliment do you think that was to your ability as a football player to at a very young stage of your career, have all of that put on your plate?
I loved every bit of it, and I really thank the Lord that that my coaches were confident in me that I could do those type of things, and I had a lot of fun doing it. Right now I'm out, I'm hurt, but I can't wait to get back to it. And any time where you can be physical in the game of football, and it's I love doing that more than pass catching or anything else. So getting out there and hitting guys and them put me in the best position to do that, I'm in heaven.
So let's talk about the injury. I mean, that's the unfortunate part of football. Nobody wants to see injuries. Nobody wants to be part of injuries, have to experience injury and rehab. And rehab is maybe tougher than the injury. I mean, the rehab portion of things is grueling. It's and you're in the midst of that. Take us through, what happened, the injury, and what you had to deal with in terms of trying to rehab back from it.
Yeah, so we were playing the Raiders, and I caught the ball in the flat and went to take a step to kind of just read the field and see, because I was blind. I didn't know what was going on in the field. I was just looking back at Joe, and I kind of, as I was catching it, took a step to read the field, and it just went from me. It was the same knee I tore from when I was at Iowa the year prior. So it was just, it never really. It just went, and part of it could have been from rehab or how I came back from it. Another thing could have been from how the surgery was done. Either or, I mean, at the end of the day, it's just something that has to get fixed. And I'm really confident in the doctors who did it now, and and I'm just gonna just do everything they tell me, rehab and just work my hardest every day. And when I get back, I'll be all right.
We were talking before we came on the air, and you were mentioning that they took a little portion of your patella from one knee to reconstruct the other.
Yes.
Tell us about that.
So the surgery I had before, it was I forget what it's called, but they took it from a different, like a dead body, and my body was rejecting the tendon that they put in there, the graft that they put in there, because it was just foreign. So
Right.
That was part of the reason why my ACL tore, because the graft that they took from I forget exactly what it's called. I always forget it, but my body was rejecting the tendon they took on the outside, so it was real loose on the outside. And that put a lot of stress on my ACL. So this time they took a graft from my body and put it on that side to where it's stronger and my body won't reject it, and I'll have nothing to worry about. So, a lot bigger graft too. The doctors told me that the graft was real small before, and that was another reason why it went so easy.
So you have a portion of the patella tendon taken out of one knee to reconstruct the other. I mean, that's like a double whammy there. I mean, people don't understand and realize how injuries can be, so grueling.
Yeah.
But I admire your attitude. I mean, you're in great spirits. I mean, you're in great shape. I mean, how you staying in such great shape without, being able to do, can you do cardio now and everything, or just weight training, or?
Yeah, but them crutches, man, them things are no joke.
Yeah.
Them things are no joke. So that's really, I do upper body and that's really it. I don't really eat too unhealthy. I'm kind of been watching what I've been eating. So
yeah, and you've done a heck of a job of that. There's no doubt. The tight end position, you've got some depth there. You got a lot of friends. Tell us about that tight end room in terms of football players and people.
Man, they've honestly been a great help. Drew Sample, Tanner Hudson. There's two Tanners, so
right.
Tanner Hudson and Mike Gesicki. They look out and honestly, they're just true competitors of the game and want to win. So they take me and Cam Grandy and Tanner McLaughlin. They took us under their wing, been helping us a lot with, just knowing what we have done, our different techniques on how to get the job done, and you can tell they honestly care and want the team to win. So they do all they do all they can to help, and they've been a true help for me. Honestly, any questions I ask, they answer it to the best of their knowledge, and and they're real cool people too. They're never like acting like I'm like a nuisance or anything. That they're real cool. You can come to them, talk about anything, and they're there for you. So great guys.
Coach Casey was excited, about having you as a serious blocker at the end of the line of scrimmage. I mean, I remember talking to him. He said, "This kid blocks like a third tackle," and then I can put him at fullback. I can use him as a weapon in the passing game. Mike Gesicki is kind of filling that role, lining up everywhere and great route runner, great receiver, good hands,
fast too, wicked fast.
Yeah, I mean, for his size speed ratio is incredible.
Yeah.
And Drew Sample, can line up and knock anybody off the line of scrimmage. I mean, he's going to knock back people. There's no doubt about that. So I mean, that tight end room, everybody has a role. Somebody has multiple roles. And I know, like I said earlier, Coach Casey it's like, man, this young buck was just starting to come on, and he's so excited about the weapon you're going to be in the National Football League.
That's great to hear.
How excited are you about having a guy like James Casey helping you, grow and develop? There's meat on the bone, and have a guy like that take you to as high a level as you can get.
I feel very blessed. Coach Casey, not only is he a great coach, he's a great person. And, he checks on me all the time and, checks on my family, and just having a guy like that as your coach can mean everything. And it does for me. So, I feel very blessed. And not only that, I feel like we played similar when he was playing, and for him to give me like coaching points on stuff that, I need help on. And not only is he telling me this stuff because he experienced and actually been through these type of situations, that stuff right there is very, very important, because you can have a coach that's been a defensive tackle or that's been a safety coach at a tight end position, and he can tell you to do something, but he never experienced it. He's never been in a game and had to do those type of things. So he understands, if you were to mess up on this, and he understands because he's been through it. So anytime you have a question, I feel confident in his answers, and it's really cool. It's really cool.
You make an interesting point. I remember, as a rookie, my first offensive line coach played for a long time in the National Football League for the San Francisco 49ers, was a captain, played the center position. So, you have a guy that's played at the highest level like you're playing at, and they don't ask you to do unreasonable things. It's not like, Coach, I can't. Are you crazy?
Yeah.
I mean, you're asking me to do the impossible, man. And
Right.
they don't even think about doing that.
Yeah.
So to have a guy that has actually played the game coaching you is a big, big plus, isn't it?
Yeah, it's huge. It's really huge. And not only that, it's just like, it's just really cool, like, because they'll show you their clips and stuff like that too.
Yeah.
And they know, like, if the center pointed this guy and you gotta go, we're about to get deep into it, but
Right.
I'm like, Coach, like,
It's
he pointed
impossible.
here, I have to go to that guy. I mean, I can't.
Right.
I know there's a big DN right here, but I have to go to the linebacker, so you gotta. It's really cool knowing that, because then he's like, hey, I've seen him point to that guy, so you had no choice. I get you. Instead of him screaming and yelling at you because you're supposed to block that DN, but I mean, if we're all wrong on the O line, we're all right, because we're all doing the same thing.
Right.
It's just, he understands that, and there's been times where coaches don't get that, and it's pretty cool.
So you played at Fairfield High School and you go to Iowa. The fact that, Cincinnati's your home, raised in Cincinnati, go to high school, play high school football at a high level at Cincinnati. the fact that you're having to go through what you're going through from the injury and the rehab and the physical and mental parts of it, how beneficial is it to be in your hometown where family and friends are and all the people that you can potentially lean on?
Oh, it's pretty cool. And yeah, I know, and it sucks right now that I'm not playing in it. And of course, I'd rather be out there playing and not hurt, but just, having a great support system, having my family here and having, friends here as well. It's cool to like get your mind off of things and actually enjoy time with the people you love, and and not have to be at football all day. So that's pretty cool. But if I was somewhere else, I feel like it would be really tough. So I truly appreciate being here, and I feel blessed. So.
Was there a coach I'm sure you probably had a coach at every level that was significant in your development, and you probably thank your lucky stars every day that you had him as a coach. But maybe name some of the guys that assisted you in your development as a football player and your growth as a football player over the years at the different levels. Are there multiple coaches that you look back on and say, man, without this guy, I'm not sure I would have gotten where I want to go?
Oh, 100%, 100%. First coach I could list is Coach Kraus at high school. He was our head coach in high school, and I started out as a receiver my sophomore year, and my junior year, he called me in, and right before the junior season, he calls me in and he asked me how would I like to be a tight end, and he knew that I wanted to be at the highest level possible and wanted to succeed in this game, and he told me, he gave me the best advice, and he's like, man, you're too slow to be a receiver. So I was just like, okay, and he put me in the best position possible, and not very far after I got the news I was going to be a tight end, I got an offer from the University of Cincinnati, and then I started playing and showing that I could actually do it, and I got more offers and more offers. So all of this wouldn't have happened if it weren't for Coach Kraus and him putting me at the tight end position. And then I was real raw too coming out of high school. All I really did was just line up offset and just go and kill somebody.
Right.
That's really it. And so when I got to Michigan, Coach Moore honed in on all the little things. Jerome Moore, he's head coach now at Michigan. He honed in and taught me a lot about the position and a lot about about just not going and trying to headhunt and kill people all the time. And it's okay to be under control and just get the job done.
Yeah.
And focus on the littlest, smallest details and how it can change the game and how it could go from us losing the game into us winning the game. So Coach Moore taught me a lot, and it helped out that he was an O-line. He was an O-lineman at the University of Oklahoma, so he played at a very high level and taught me really how to block as a tight end. And then Coach Jay Harbaugh, Coach Harbaugh's son, he was our tight end coach. I can't remember. I think it was the next year after I think it was my sophomore year, and he taught me a lot about the game, about the defense, about getting off on the snap, how important it was to know the snap count and to get off on the snap count right when the ball moves, and like just this like stuff that you never would think about.
Right.
And he didn't play tight end, and I'm not sure how far he went in playing the game at all. I don't know how much he played, but he was very smart. He was and taught us a lot about just the stuff that you would never even think about, and that was huge for me. And I learned a lot from him with that. And not only that, it was just he was a really great person and knew how to draw guys in and not keep guys from zoning out during meetings,
right,
and stuff like that. He was really cool and someone to go to talk to about anything. So I love Coach Harbaugh. He changed the game for me for sure. And I'd say Coach Hodge at Iowa, man, he didn't play tight end. He was a linebacker, And I'm not sure how much he knows about the position, but one thing he does know is when you go out there, there's no lows, there's no plays you take off. How important it is to know your assignment and not to ever think it's okay to miss an assignment or to be late or to just slack off and just mess up plays mentally. So having him as my coach, he really pushed me really hard after a serious injury, one of my first injuries ever with my back, and he was just a great person as well. And if it weren't for him, I don't think I would be here. I don't think it was tough. Coming back from your first injury, your first season, not finishing the season. The first time not finishing the season and stuff, so he kept me in the game. He brought back the love that I needed for the game, and he put that dog in me for sure, and made me want to go out there each game and play with a chip on my shoulder. So those three coaches were very huge in my in playing, and I almost forgot to mention my father, my dad, and he's the reason I got into the game. He taught me pretty much everything I know, and he's the one who put that dog in me from the very beginning. When I was young, he was my coach. When I started out, he was my coach. So if it weren't for him, none of this would happen. So
I'll tell you, your family and friends have to be excited. Fairfield High School, go to Michigan, go to Iowa, full circle, come back to Cincinnati.
Yeah.
You're back home again with everybody. And your parents got to be special people, man. You were raised right. You're a heck of a football player.
Thank you.
Heck of an individual, and I know you're going to fight, man. You're going to fight, rehab your tail off, and because you got a lot of years left, a lot of big productive years at the tight end position. And appreciate you carving time to join us, Eric.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
All right, that's Eric Hall, everybody, and heck of a tight end. This man can do it all. And we're going to step aside, take a little time, reflect back on things, catch back up on who's been drafted. I got to take a look at the board as the Bengals, they got that third round selection coming up here, and we'll see what kind of options they may have. Stay with us.
Are you a diehard Bengals fan craving more than just highlights? Dive deep into the heart of the team with Dave Lapham's In the Trenches, presented by First Star Logistics. Join Bengals icon Dave Lapham, a 10-year NFL veteran and the team's color analyst since 1986, as he delivers unparalleled Bengals analysis. In the Trenches features exclusive interviews with current players and coaches, giving you an inside look at game strategy, team dynamics, and behind-the-scenes stories you won't find anywhere else. Plus, Dave brings in top NFL experts like Chris Sims, Charles Davis, Solomon Wilcots, and Chris Collinsworth to break down the biggest plays and predict the future of the Bengals and the AFC North. Get the edge every week. Subscribe to Dave Lapham's In the Trenches on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts today.
Bengals fans, tired of the same old post-game chatter? Want real insight beyond the scoreboard? Then you need Bengals on the Brain with Joe Goodberry, presented by First Star Logistics. Joe Goodberry isn't just a fan, he's a die-hard Bengals football analyst. Every week, Joe dives deep into the Bengals game film, breaking down the plays that mattered, revealing hidden strategies, and uncovering the true impact of individual performances. Get ready for post-game analysis like you've never heard before, player evaluations that go beyond the stats, and the most in-depth Bengals draft coverage on the internet. Don't just watch the Bengals, understand the Bengals. Subscribe to Bengals on the Brain with Joe Goodberry on the First Star Media Group's YouTube channel. Get smart, get obsessed, get Bengals on the Brain.
Now we're back. Little Bengals on the Brain. Joe Goodberry joining us. Alan True. Alan, where can we find you, my friend?
24/7 Sports is where I do most of my work, but a lot of it, it's not very draft related. It's recruiting, but then also transfer portal. So a lot of those guys,
Nobody's in the transfer portal.
Oh, I think they are.
No,
Oh, really?
I'm bored all the time
Okay,
during the
bored.
transfer portal window.
Transfer portal.
Not a lot of work.
Hey, as last we left you, hope you guys enjoyed the interview with, we're going to give Lap a break. Hope you enjoyed the interview with Eric Hall as he piled his way up here with those crutches. mightily. He even looks good with crutches. I mean, that's impressive. You know who looks good? Sarah Pickle looks good. If you missed our money machine, Sarah Pickle, who's a physician, came in, had a chance at making some money for herself, and she did. In the money machine, $943 she collected, and she's donating all of it to cancer-free kids. Man, if you guys can hear me, big hand for Sarah Pickle. That's awesome. Appreciate you, Sarah, very much. We're going to have another money machine winner coming up. Now, we just did our last half hour of Jamar, but you want the grand prize. So we're going to do the grand prize first. Hashtag First Star Logistics. This will give you a shot at the grand prize for a Bengals golf cart. As we rotate the wheel, our first one going in, Frank Poe is going into the grand prize for a chance to win the Bengals golf cart. We'll do one more as we spin this. This will get you in at the end of the show, probably take us to about the 11 o'clock hour. Logan Miller, you are in and moving forward to the grand prize drawing. Also last half hour, we were up on hashtag Jamar Chase for a signed Jamar Chase football. So we move the wheel around one more time to find out who got the Jamar Chase football. Hashtag Jamar Chase is what you needed to be in. The wheel spins, and our winner is Reed H. gets the win for the Jamar Chase football. Congratulations. All right, new hashtag. We are giving away a Bengals-themed PS5.
That's a good prize.
It is a good
Oh,
prize.
I'm sorry, my
prize.
reaction.
Yeah, your reaction
great
was like,
Hey, my son got a PS5 for Christmas from
Was
Santa
it a
Claus.
Bengals themed?
It was not.
No, it's not as good as this.
You're
Here's your hashtag for the half hour. Bengals Draft Party 2025 to get in on the PS5 giveaway. And as always, hashtag First Star Logistics. So our hashtag for this half hour, Bengals Draft Party 2025, and all for the grand prize, hashtag First Star Logistics. There's your hashtag for this half hour. Gentlemen, get us caught up while we missed it, because I taught Tate Ratledge go at 57. Who did he go to at 57?
The Detroit Lions.
Ooh,
Great fit.
Oh, man.
Tremendous fit.
All right. What else did we miss?
You want to do it, Ellen?
Yeah, so a couple offensive linemen came off the board. Is this a little bit of a dead zone for tackles? Because I think teams seem to be reaching a little bit for tackles a little bit earlier. Maybe
there's not a lot
than
of
for
true
Belton.
tackles in this class. A lot of them are going to have to kick in the guard. Ozzie Trapillo being the one here from Boston College, I think as well is going to have to kick in the guard. Maybe in the future can move back out to tackle. But yeah, I think that's where we're going to see a little bit of a fall for some of these guys that may be there in round 3.
Nick Scorton comes off the board. Benjamin Morrison, we talked about. Al Golden guy goes to Tampa Bay. I think that's a good pick for them.
I agree. That's a man cover guy. He's got a bad hip. That's why he's still here. Or else I think at one point he could have been a top 20 pick. And hip injuries are kind of scary, especially in a position where you got to run so much.
And flip your hips and those things. Jack Betch, I love that fit for the Raiders. That's a
power slot. The guy that can block from that position. He was at LSU at one point. I think he was there at the end of the Burrow. You're saying,
Yeah. Because he's from Louisiana, so I think he's back in that time, and he was jacked about the Raiders. I'll tell you that.
Oh yeah, I can see that.
All right, Baltimore next up. So as we go to Baltimore next up, let's go through AFC North. Is there a winner so far, gentlemen, in the AFC North?
Cleveland.
Well, Steelers only had the one pick, right? So because they had their second rounder, they traded it for DK Metcalf. Cleveland gets an extra pick out of it, and I've liked who they've drafted so far. I think they got 3 good players. I think we'd have to say Cleveland.
We know this one, though.
We do know the Ravens pick if we want to spoil it for everyone.
Go ahead.
Coming up.
Do it.
It's Mike Green, the highest guy on the board.
Oh,
so
you've been talking about it for a while.
Malachi Starks, Mike Green. I might lean that way.
That's pretty good.
Those damn Ravens, I tell you what.
So this is another great pick for them, from what you see.
This is what they do.
Classic Ravens.
They
pick,
let the board
yes.
fall to them, and
Yes.
they'll take it. They don't care what it is.
Who gets better in this division, and are we in that mode? Maybe it's a rhetorical question. Who gets better after this draft, and does that happen as much now or more so than it used to because of the way the draft works and because of how teams are analytically moving into it? That's a broad question, Alan. I'll let you address that first.
Yeah, I mean, I think it depends on what the makeup of your team is like going into the draft. And I think when you look at a team like, let's look at Pittsburgh, there's still two big question marks there, which is who's going to be your running back and who's going to be your quarterback. So depending on what the answers to that question are, they could get better if the two answers to those questions are the two right answers, or they could get significantly worse, I think, if they're starting Mason Rudolph, if they're reaching for a quarterback later in this draft and they don't really have a true starting running back, and they don't have a second round pick either.
Aaron Rodgers?
Could be.
Now, see, I heard Mike Florio, Pro Football Talk, says, mark it down. I don't care what you say. Aaron Rodgers is going to play for the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Interesting.
Done. It's happened. It won't happen until after the draft, which is why you won't see Pittsburgh pick up a quarterback. Does that make sense? I don't like any three of those guys behind center.
Right.
And they don't scare me either if I'm looking at it from a Bengals perspective. You know what I mean? Like Aaron Rodgers, he can't move as well anymore. I don't know if the locker room really follows him the way they used to. And if they end up with a Shedeur Sanders or Mason Rudolph, whatever happens there, none of it really scares me as a Bengals fan.
It's so hard to know if that intel is correct because nobody has drafted Shedeur Sanders to this point. So clearly the quarterbacks are all slid to a certain extent. So the Steelers picking a quarterback at 21 yesterday would have been a reach no matter what.
You're right.
So it's hard to know if they passed on Shedeur because they just wanted to pass on Shedeur or because Aaron Rodgers is in the pocket.
All right, while you're on it, everybody's passed on Shedeur. And we're going to go, how many more picks do we have? We don't have a whole lot of picks to the end of the second.
We're at 60 now.
So we're at 60 now, going to 64. You certainly don't see Washington taking him.
No.
You don't see Chicago taking him.
Mm-mm.
Kansas City's not taking him. And Philadelphia's not taking him. So Shedeur Sanders is moving to the third round. And how far down after that? And I don't know whether we even care what that means, but what it means is Prime is pissed.
This reminds me a little Malik Willis. Does that remind you of that a little bit? He was mocked late first round, ends up sliding into the third round.
A comparable is Geno Smith as well. And I think Geno was originally thought of as a first round pick and slid into round two. It took him a couple years, but he ended up having a good career.
So the lesson here, I think, with Shedeur is you don't blow off a bunch of interviews, right, with teams, and you work out, you go to the combine, you do those things. I think teams are showing that that's an important part of the process. Will Johnson, same thing. I mean, his is more medical, but didn't test at the combine, didn't run at his pro day, even in his private workout, didn't run a 40. And I think you're seeing that teams value that.
Is there anything that's changed now in 2025 with this draft and what we've seen here? Look, you're already.
I've got a thought because there's something you started this conversation with, and then I thought you were leading into this.
I'll let you go. So cut me right off.
Talking about guys that need to make an impact in rookie seasons, right? And then rookie classes.
Yes.
And is that more common now and things like that? Well, what we're seeing from a cap perspective is larger portion of the cap going to your stars. We saw it with Joe Burrow. It started with Patrick Mahomes, but the Bengals doing it also with Jamar Chase, with T. Higgins, and overinflating those cap hits this year. Many teams are doing this, and what's happening is now I need to fill out the other 50 players on the roster with cheap talent. These rookies have to come in and play. They have to make a positive impact. You see direct correlation to bad draft classes that don't make an impact the rookie year, those teams not making the playoffs. So it is important.
Interesting.
By the way, if you want an early fantasy sleeper for me, R.J. Harvey going to the Denver Broncos, I would think he's going to get a lot of carries there. They passed on a running back in the first round. They didn't go.
This must have been the guy they wanted.
This is the guy I have on good authority. This is the guy they wanted. And I think he's going to get a lot of carries.
When a team wants a guy like that and actively maybe even reaches a little or whatever it may be, and it's on authority that like they were targeting this guy the whole time for fantasy purposes, that means that guy's walking in with a load of the carries.
They had him and Omarion Hampton, I think, graded more similarly than most people would think, and that's why they didn't go that route in the first round.
I got to take a break shortly here, so I'm going to throw something out ridiculous. Is there anything in this draft? First of all, Alan, who's your favorite to win the Super Bowl before we even start the season?
Oh, man.
I know. I
Putting me
come
on
out of left field.
You're putting me on
I'll
the
let you
spot.
think
Yeah,
about
let me
that. Do
think
you
about
have
this.
one already? Who's
I
your
don't
favorite?
yet. I don't feel because the draft class is so important.
Yeah.
You're going to, and that was my next thing. You actually think that the draft class will determine.
Oh, no doubt. It did for the Eagles last year. Quinion Mitchell, Cooper DeJean, like those guys were impact players. Their secondary going into last offseason was a major question mark. They answered it in the first
And the Eagles were in the top 5 of favorites to win the Super Bowl at that time. So it's somebody in the top 5 who has drafted well.
Oh, yeah.
Who will add that 1 or 2 or 3 players that will change the thing.
That's a good way to look at it. I like the way your analysis is
I like the way you're thinking right now. All right, we're going to take a quick break. You are watching the First Star Logistics 3rd annual Bengals Draft right from the Handlebar restaurant. Is anybody hear us? Is anybody enjoying themselves out at the Handlebar tonight? Once you start drinking a little bit more, we'll have a little bit more shouting going on as we get going. When we get back,
there we go. They cheer for they don't cheer for the
for
giveaways.
alcohol.
They cheer for the beer.
Cheer for alcohol. When we come back, Lap's going to come back. Hopefully he's grabbed a nosh to fill his belly. And then, speaking of nosh, Yoshivash will be coming on to join Dave Lapham here on First Star Logistics 3rd annual Bengals Draft Party.
Dave Lapham here, and every day I am grateful for my experience to have played professional football. As a player, I realized self-motivation, leadership, and appreciating your teammates are key. At First Star Logistics, you can use those same attributes to create the life you want for you and your family. Build your future by working hard like I did. You'll see results both on and off the field. Call First Star Logistics today and be part of our winning team.
Bengals fans, tired of the same old post-game chatter? Want real insight beyond the scoreboard? Then you need Bengals on the Brain with Joe Goodberry, presented by First Star Logistics. Joe Goodberry isn't just a fan, he's a die-hard Bengals football analyst. Every week, Joe dives deep into the Bengals game film, breaking down the plays that mattered, revealing hidden strategies, and uncovering the true impact of individual performances. Get ready for post-game analysis like you've never heard before, player evaluations that go beyond the stats, and the most in-depth Bengals draft coverage on the internet. Don't just watch the Bengals, understand the Bengals. Subscribe to Bengals on the Brain with Joe Goodberry on the First Star Media Group's YouTube channel. Get smart, get obsessed, get Bengals on the Brain.
Are you a die-hard Bengals fan craving more than just highlights? Dive deep into the heart of the team with Dave Lapham's In the Trenches, presented by First Star Logistics. Join Bengals icon Dave Lapham, a 10-year NFL veteran and the team's color analyst since 1986, as he delivers unparalleled Bengals analysis. In the Trenches features exclusive interviews with current players and coaches, giving you an inside look at game strategy, team dynamics, and behind-the-scenes stories you won't find anywhere else. Plus, Dave brings in top NFL experts like Chris Sims, Charles Davis, Solomon Wilcots, and Chris Collinsworth to break down the biggest plays and predict the future of the Bengals and the AFC North. Get the edge every week. Subscribe to Dave Lapham's In the Trenches on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts today.
Okay, we're back. How about it? We're back here at Great American Ballpark. This is First Star Logistics draft coverage, and nobody does things as well as First Star Logistics does. There's no question about it. Top shelf. When they say they're going to do something, they do it to the highest level possible. And hope everybody's enjoying draft day coverage here today. The Bengals have gone through 2 rounds of the draft, and the second round is coming to a close here and be into the 3rd round. And right now, got a very special guest joining us. This guy is not only a phenomenal football player, very, very intelligent man, high football IQ, really good person. Teammates love him. Talking about Andre Yosivash. Welcome, my man.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
My pleasure. So let's talk about your transition to football. You're an incredible athlete. I mean, you were basically, was it decathlon or pentathlon? Decathlon.
Decathlon, yeah.
You were competing at an Olympic level in the decathlon. What got you into that, first of all, I guess?
Well, it's just because I was blessed to be an athlete, and I know in high school I was good at running and jumping, and so the track coach at Princeton saw that, and he said, why don't you just do all of it? And so I did, and I was good at all of it, so I was blessed to be able to compete at a very high level for Princeton track.
So take us through the events. What I mean, it's speed, it's strength, it's overall, you have to be a stud athlete to be able to compete.
Yeah. So the decathlon consists of 10 events. And so the first day, it's the 100-meter dash, the long jump, the shot put, the high jump, then the 400 meters. And then the second day is the 110 hurdles, the javelin, the discus, the pole vault, and then you end with the 1,500 meters. So almost a mile run to finish it all off.
It's interesting. Shamar Stewart was interviewed today, and he was asked, you have a 40-inch vertical jump, you run a 4.59, you're broad jumping almost 11 feet. Which thing do you think is most impressive and has helped you the most football? He said the broad jump.
Yeah.
Because he said, the explosiveness of that, being able to move that big body almost 11 feet. Do you agree with that, or is the vertical jump? I mean, all of it's impressive. A guy that size to run a 4.59 40 and vertical jump of 40 inches or more. It's very gifted athlete. Do you agree with that, though, that's explosive?
Yeah, I think the jumps really you can tell how explosive and athletic somebody is by their jumps. So if you're over 250 pounds and you're just jumping and you're putting all that weight almost 40 inches in the air on a vertical jump, that's a lot of force being put into the ground and being utilized in the right way to bring you up that high.
Yeah. And then to do broad jump 11 feet at that size too. Mm-hmm. That's
yeah, he's a pretty good athlete. I've seen the combine numbers. They're pretty crazy.
Yeah. I mean, the guy, he's 6'5", 270 pounds in that range. I mean, that's some crazy numbers. What did you like best about the decathlete? What were the events that you would circle and say, I'm looking forward to getting this done?
Yeah, all the running and jumping, every sprint, every high jump, long jump, and then my favorite one was also the pole vault, just because you never really get to do that kind of motion anywhere else in any other sport. You can run and jump anywhere, but pole vaulting is its own entity. So I thought that was pretty fun.
I mean, we had a pole vaulter that set the school record when I was on the track and field team. I was shot putting a discus guy. I was not in javelin too.
Yeah,
that's all I did. That was nothing more than that. But this guy was pretty impressive, and we got to be pretty good friends. And I would spot him, a little bit, and to watch what you guys do as pole vaulters, man, to hit that pole. And people think, the precision that it takes to put it in the pit the right way, into the hole or whatever, the right way, and to invert yourself, and then you have to be a gymnast in the air, and then land in the pit, the padded pit, the way you do. I mean, is that the toughest thing to do?
It's a combination of so many things. It's a combination of hand-eye coordination and athleticism and strength, because you have to, obviously when you're running, you have to find the pit and you have to put it in the right way. And then you have to swing yourself up in vertical and upside down and push yourself on top of the bar to get over it. and you have to have enough athleticism in the air to, dodge the bar if you need to or anything like that. So it's like gymnastics and track in one event. So it's pretty fun.
It is amazing. I mean, the timing and the coordination of all of it, to me, I mean, if it's just a hair off at any level of that.
Yeah, I flew off the mat like one. I've put the pole in like a little bit to the right, and I literally flew and I landed off the mat. Thank God I landed on my feet, or it would have been bad.
Oh my gosh, man, that's unbelievable. So, all of those track exploits, did you take us through other sports that you played in your youth, and which of those do you think was the most beneficial to you achieving the level of play in football?
Well, I don't know. I thought about this a lot because obviously, well, not obviously, but I want to have kids somewhat in the near future. And, what made me a good athlete, I think, was running around, like playing tag with my friends, or like just doing things outdoors and being competitive. I think made me a great athlete because I was outdoors all the time in Hawaii. So we played tag, hide and seek, just a lot of competitive things outdoors as kids, and, learning to move your body, just evading somebody or running away as fast as you could. I think those are, honestly is what that's what helped me the most, rather than like organized sports, to be honest.
So Hawaii, man, growing up and participating in sports in Hawaii in that kind of weather, and now here you are in Cincinnati, and we know what the winters can be like in Cincinnati. How big of an adjustment has that been? How big of an adjustment was it for you?
Well, my biggest adjustment was when I went from Hawaii to Princeton. So when I was in New Jersey, that was pretty tough. That was probably it was a pretty low moment for me, being away from my family, being in the cold. It was great for like 9 months out of the year. School was hard. So I'd say that was the toughest transition I've ever had. So I did 4 years of being in New Jersey. So Cincinnati is not a bad city at all when you're comparing New Jersey to it. So it's been not bad at all.
So Princeton, got recruited at Princeton. Harvard, Yale, Princeton, the Ivy League schools got accepted to them. I really liked. It came down to the two Ivies that I was trying to decide were Harvard and Princeton, and I really liked the campus at Princeton. I'm not saying I'm from the Boston area, so the weather it wasn't all that different for me, but Princeton, what a great institution, man. I was impressed with the campus, the people. What was it about Princeton that drew your attention?
Well, yeah, so I had offers from Princeton and Dartmouth, and so Dartmouth is really, really out of the way. So it's basically in Canada. So I mean, they had a really good football program, but the coaches really liked me at Princeton, and they offered me right after the camp that I went to. So I wanted to be somewhere where they wanted me because I didn't have any offers. I had 2 offers, Princeton and Dartmouth, and that was it. So on top of the coaches wanting me, it was good. Like, it felt like I was on like a Harry Potter campus. It was beautiful. The town was really safe. And it was the best undergrad school in the nation. So, football didn't work out for me. I had a plan. I'm not a plan, but just like a fallback degree. Not a bad degree to have if you don't go to the NFL. So
no doubt.
Yeah.
What was it in?
I didn't graduate technically because they didn't let me. So when I was training for the combine, I had to be in Florida, and they didn't let me do online school. So
Gotcha.
I'm finishing up my political science degree. I still have to write my thesis, so I'm looking forward to that in sometime in the future.
That was my my minor.
Okay.
It was my major initially. I was thinking I wanted to be a lawyer, Perry Mason. I thought I was going to be the next Perry Mason, whatever. and then when I decided to change, I went into communications, public relations, that sort of thing. I kept it as a minor, so I got a political science minor degree. But what were you thinking about? What were you thinking about doing with poli sci?
Nothing. I just needed to get my degree anywhere I
There
could.
you go.
I was good at writing papers, so it was easy for me to like read an article or read some dissertation about something and just write a paper about it. Because I don't know, being in for the math courses and economics courses, you have to be at every single class, and sometimes I would not go or go to recovery instead of go, and so I had to find ways to kind of weave my way through the system, but still get really good grades. So that's what I did.
What about any other sports that you may have participated in as a kid growing up?
I did a little bit of soccer. I played basketball, but it was track, football most of the time, and I was just running around everywhere. Yeah, track and football, and a little basketball up until 9th grade, I would say. Yeah.
were you always a sprinter? Did you? I mean, what about the dog gut run? The 400 meters where you had the 440, we had the 880, the quarter mile, the half mile.
Right.
I mean, even a 220, the guy, 200 meters, whatever. To sprint for that length of time, and then the 400 meters, it's a sprint for a lap. I mean, did you ever do that kind of stuff?
Yeah, in high school, when you're a sprinter, you have to do the 1 through the 4. So I did the 1, the 2, and the 4. And the 200 was my favorite event because once I got up to my top speed, I'm a lanky dude, so I can hold it for a really long time, and that was the easiest one for me. The 100 was harder for me in high school because it took me a little bit longer to get up to top speed, and I wasn't squat. I didn't lift that much in high school, so my squat wasn't good, so my acceleration wasn't the best. But my top speed was really good.
So, what coaches do you think had the biggest impact on you as you were, a young student athlete trying to get to where you are today?
Yeah, I would say my high school track coach actually had a huge impact on me because out of high school I had no offers from football, so my football confidence wasn't the best. But I knew I was really athletic. But my track coach was telling me, you're don't be soft. You're really good. Be confident in yourself. Keep doing it. And a lot of the stuff that he teaches me, I bring with myself every day to whatever I'm doing. And I would say. The coach I work with now in the off season, my receiver coach, he's kind of the same way. Don't take anything from anybody. Do your work, and good things will come. So that's kind of how I've lived my life.
Looking at you, you're in phenomenal shape. I mean, you don't gain an ounce. It looks like once the football season's over with. I mean, you're a year-round guy from a conditioning standpoint, and I know you really push yourself. Take us through what your off-season conditioning program consists of.
Yeah, so our season ended. We didn't go to the playoffs, so we got a little bit longer of a break. So I just went back to Hawaii. I didn't take a trip anywhere exotic. I mean, Hawaii is exotic, but that's my home. So
sure.
I was just there for a month, and then I was just there. I ate food. I surfed. I gained a little bit of weight, but I went back to Atlanta to train, and I kept the weight on, but I stayed fast and I stayed strong. So right now I'm around 218 to 220.
Really? Man, you're carrying it great, man.
Yeah, it's only my legs, and I wear baggy pants a little bit so that, if I wear too tight pants, the waist to thigh ratio doesn't work out for me a lot of times. So I switch to the baggy pants. But yeah, so
you'd have to take that waist in where your pockets meet in the back. Right?
Yeah, exactly. So that doesn't work out for me too much. But it's good weight, and I'm strong and I'm fast still, and I train in Atlanta. Mid-February, I start going hard. So I've been going hard for 8 weeks now.
Wow.
And so OTAs is it's more of a chill time for me, to be honest, because I go really, really hard for those 8 weeks that I'm not here.
Your size speed ratio is an attribute, no question about it. Give us some idea. I mean, you said you're what, 218? You said, and 6'3" plus.
Yeah, it was 6'3.75. So they gypped me on the 6'4", but I'm more closer to 6'4" than I am to 6'3". So.
Yeah. And your speed ratio. I mean, what's your 40 now? Do you figure? You probably haven't run for time for a while.
Well, I usually have the fastest miles per hour on the team from the catapult.
Really?
So I think the 40 that I had was bogus. I think the combine 40 times are a little bit a hand time 40 at a pro day is much different than a combine laser time. So I don't know. Anyone who wants to race, I'm down for a race. Let's just say that. Yeah.
So your contribution right away was goal line, short yardage, inside the 20, because you're so physical. I mean, you have the speed, but your physicality, your size and your strength, you overpower defensive backs when need be to make contested catches and that sort of thing. You take great pride in that, don't you?
Definitely. I knew that, there's something you have to find your strengths. And I think my strength is being big and strong and fast and, just honing in on those, but also working where I think I need to improve on is something I also take pride in. But knowing your strengths is definitely something you need to know in the NFL.
Your route running is something that it appears you've really worked hard on. And there's always improvement for route running. But I mean, for a guy of your size, stature, and length to get in and out of cuts like you do, it's remarkable. I mean, you're going against 5'9", 5'10" corners that, don't have that body length and they can sink their hips and get in and out of cuts. It's a lot tougher for somebody almost 6'4" to do that kind of thing. But man, you're getting in and out of cuts and getting the separation. Now that's what it's all about, isn't it?
I knew I was athletic enough to do it. I just never had, in college, I was just playing football and doing track. And so now that I have the time to really dedicate to this craft, I think, the sky's really the limit for me, in my opinion. There's a lot of mouths to feed on the offense. We have so many stars on this team. It's almost, no one should be able to stop us on offense this year. You can't guard all of us. It's not going to work. So, but, just me seeing greatness in front of me with Jamar and T and guys like Mike even too, I just need to, the competitive guy in me needs to beat those guys. It needs to be better than them. So we're all trying to be better than one another, and it's a really good environment to be in.
Your early contributions in your career were in the red zone and goal line plays and, fighting for the football and contested catches. But now you are the third receiver on this football team. The Bengals went out and paid big money to Jamar Chase and T. Higgins to keep them in the number one, number two guy. You're definitely the third guy. What's it like to be out in the football field with those kind of talents? And then, Mike Gesicki to boot. He's like having another receiver, as a tight end, Joe Burrow throwing you the quarterback, throwing you the football at the quarterback position. Life's good being a Cincinnati Bengal part of the passing attack, isn't it?
Yeah, it's easy when you can trust guys to make plays, and you have so much talent around you that it makes going against other defenses easy, because you double one dude, another guy, another three dudes are going to get open. You double two guys, we have a bunch of guys that can get open. So it's really pick your poison on who you want to try to stop. But I think it's no good at that point. You might as well just play your base defense and just hope for the best.
You mentioned trust. That's a big word. Trust and respect, two big words. And it seems like this football team, that's what it's all about. It's a family kind of deal. Friends obviously as well. But that trust and that respect that everybody has for each other is huge, isn't it?
Yeah, a way to the best offenses operate efficiently, and everybody knows the play calls, everybody knows the checks. Everybody's, the chemistry between a receiver and a quarterback means a lot too. Knowing where someone's going to be, knowing how someone breaks, knowing how someone throws the ball in certain situations. It's all goes into what makes a great offense.
Troy Walters, your wide receiver coach, played the game. When you've got a coach that is aware of, don't put that in there. That's unrealistic. Mm-hmm. You're asking guys to do stuff that let's not go there. And having a coach that handles it that way. And then when I watch you guys during the season, you're very close as a unit, and you'll spend a lot of time together off the football field, not just in the locker room. I'll see you guys in the cafeteria early in the morning, gathering as a group and exchanging, ideas and talking about things. It's a pretty good dynamic in that room, isn't it?
Yeah, we have a super healthy relationship with our coach, and all the players really like each other. So, Coach Troy, being a former receiver, he understands what it takes to be in the league for a long time, understands what a good offense looks like. He played with Peyton Manning. So he knows what works and what's realistic and what's unrealistic and what are more so ideas rather than realistic things that can be attainable. So it's a really good presence to have for the offensive staff and for the receivers as well when he needs to have our back.
You've got a lot of reps under your belt now with Joe Burrow, as do the other components of your passing attack. What's it like in the huddle and at the line of scrimmage with a guy like Joe Burrow?
Yeah, you always got to be ready for him to, check, because he's always reading the defense. He's one of the best pre-snap quarterbacks in the NFL, if not the best. So you always got to be trying to see what he's seeing. Playing with him makes you kind of understand the game more, because you want to understand what he's seeing so that you can be on the same page as him. And I think a lot of guys' games have been elevated because of that, for sure.
AFC North, very physical football. The AFC North, every single team in the first round drafted a defensive player. Mm-hmm. It doesn't shock me at all. It's the physicality of the division is right up your alley, though, isn't it?
Yeah, it's, this year I've been called upon to, be the down blocker, insert in the C gap, B gap, whatever it may be, to get a safety or someone who's down in the box. So, I don't mind. I like, it keeps me in the game. It keeps me focused. It doesn't hurt to butt heads with somebody a little bit. So it's my brand of football for sure.
Princeton graduate, great intelligence, tremendous football IQ, extremely athletic. I mean, Olympic level, decathlete. You got a lot going for you, my man. Appreciate you carving time and joining us. And good luck this season.
Appreciate
I know
that.
you're going to have a great one.
Yeah, thank you. Appreciate it.
Andre Yosivas, he's getting it done for the Cincinnati Bengals, one of the best passing offenses, if not the best, in the National Football League. Step aside, take a little time out, take care of some business, and we will return for that third-round pick, that all-important third-round pick of the Cincinnati Bengals. Don't go anywhere.
Are you a diehard Bengals fan craving more than just highlights? Dive deep into the heart of the team with Dave Lapham's In the Trenches, presented by First Star Logistics. Join Bengals icon Dave Lapham, a 10-year NFL veteran and the team's color analyst since 1986, as he delivers unparalleled Bengals analysis. In the Trenches features exclusive interviews with current players and coaches, giving you an inside look at game strategy, team dynamics, and behind-the-scenes stories you won't find anywhere else. Plus, Dave brings in top NFL experts like Chris Sims, Charles Davis, Solomon Wilcots, and Chris Collinsworth to break down the biggest plays and predict the future of the Bengals and the AFC North. Get the edge every week. Subscribe to Dave Lapham's In the Trenches on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts today.
Bengals fans, tired of the same old post-game chatter? Want real insight beyond the scoreboard? Then you need Bengals on the Brain with Joe Goodberry, presented by First Star Logistics. Joe Goodberry isn't just a fan, he's a die-hard Bengals football analyst. Every week, Joe dives deep into the Bengals game film, breaking down the plays that mattered, revealing hidden strategies, and uncovering the true impact of individual performances. Get ready for post-game analysis like you've never heard before, player evaluations that go beyond the stats, and the most in-depth Bengals draft coverage on the internet. Don't just watch the Bengals, understand the Bengals. Subscribe to Bengals on the Brain with Joe Goodberry on the First Star Media Group's YouTube channel. Get smart, get obsessed, get Bengals on the Brain.
Here with the football savant, a member of the first family of football, the Sims family. None other than Chris Sims. And Chris, you had a phenomenal career at Texas. 26-6, 26 wins. When you were done playing at Texas, second all-time in the win column as a quarterback with the Texas Longhorns. Pretty impressive, my man.
Thanks, man.
Take us back to the collegiate days. What was it like? I mean, what was it like playing for Mac Brown and the draft? So you put together a hell of a resume, and the draft's coming up. What was the draft experience like for you as you were waiting for it with Mac Brown?
Right. Yeah, well, the University of Texas, as you know, is a special place. It's an awesome place to play football. It did get me prepared to play in the NFL because it's Austin's the biggest city in the country that doesn't have an NFL football team, right?
Yeah.
And so you kind of get treated like an NFL quarterback or player when you're there in that town. And that can be good. You get some perks every now and then, but you also get like constant scrutiny and evaluation, and you're a young kid. So it taught me how to be a quarterback or at least deal with outside noise in the NFL. It was a great experience. Came to the draft. I ended up being drafted at the end of the third round. I was the last pick of the third round. And the draft day and the experience itself was a great day and a horrible day altogether, right? Can that possibly be? But yes, it was. It was.
Yeah.
Because I had gone on some draft visits. In my year, it was the Carson Palmer, Byron Leftwich, Rex Grossman, Chris Sims, Kyle Bowler, right? And one of us was going to be the odd man out in the first round, right? There was only so many seats as far as quarterbacks available in the first round, and I was in the mix of that conversation. I was. And also through my draft visits, you know, one of my last ones was the Raiders, the Oakland Raiders. Al Davis was alive at that time, and they had the last two picks of the first round. And they kind of really led me to believe that if I was on the board at the end of the first, that they were, you know, I don't want to say they were going to take me, but they were seriously going to consider it.
Yeah.
Right. So I was excited, like, hey, I think I got a chance to go in the first round here. And Baltimore, are they really going to take Kyle Bowler? He threw more interceptions and touchdowns than he did in his college career. He threw the ball through the goalpost on his knee, and all of a sudden he got all hyped up. And I wanted to be like, I can do that too. Will that get me drafted higher? I mean, I can make a video and do that. So, there was a lot of stuff going on. I had a little bit of a reputation of I couldn't win the big game because we lost to Oklahoma. I only started against them 2 years as a starter, my junior and senior year. I became the starter halfway through my sophomore year after the Oklahoma game.
Right.
So, but I got that kind of the stigma, and I didn't play my best in those games, and they were kind of awesome. So let's not forget that.
No question.
But, and I lost the Big 12 championship game to the Colorado Buffaloes. And that was my fault. I threw 3 picks in the first half. That was my fault. And that's where that stigma of he can't win the big game kind of came from. Well, when it came to the draft, that kind of stuck with me. And there I was. All right, first round went by. I was pissed off. Like, damn, I can't believe I'm not going to go in the first round. I had friends over and some family. Okay, well, I'll go somewhere early in the second. Man, then we got to late in the second, and it was like, man, no phone ringing. My agent hadn't heard anything. And I was like, all right, guys, friends, see you later. Get out of here. Like, I'm not in the mood to even have a party anymore. I'm pissed off. I'm bothered. And I'm going to go sit upstairs in a room by myself and watch the draft. I don't want to be around anybody anymore. So that's what I did. And I went upstairs and watched the draft by myself, just about all the third round, pissed off, mad as hell. And I'm sitting there watching, and it's coming to the end of the third round. And as you remember, in the old days, they did the first 3 rounds all on the same day.
Yep.
So I'd been sitting there for like 7 hours, basically now. It took forever. It was something like that, like no joke.
Yeah.
And at the end of the telecast, Chris Berman is literally like, the Bucks are up. And he's going, Chris Sims, come on, right? And all of a sudden, it pops on the screen. Tampa Bay Buccaneers, I think I was the 97th pick. I don't know. I'm still so pissed off about it. I don't even know exactly what pick I am, all right? But so 97 Tampa Bay Buccaneers. A second later, the phone rings, right? And I can hear my mom screaming downstairs. She's all happy. I answer the phone. It's John Gruden, which was, again, like the coolest, and I was annoyed too. So I had so many emotions.
Yeah.
But he was, hey, man, what are you doing, man? Hey, this is John Gruden, man. We're going to take you. I expect you to come down here. And, of course, John Gruden was the hottest quarterback coach, offensive coordinator in football right there at that moment. So I was like, okay, damn, I'm pissed off, but this is a silver lining. I'm going to get to go play for this guy. And they had just won the Super Bowl, right? So they had some guys on their team that are legends of legends. Warren Sapp, Derek Brooks, John Lynch, Rondé Barber, Simeon Rice, Mike Allstott, right? Brad Johnson, Keyshawn Johnson. I mean, it was like, wow, I'm going to them. So that soothed things over a little bit, but it's still one of those days where it's like, yeah, that was a special day, but I feel like I got more bad memories on that day than good ones, Dave.
Unbelievable. And when you look at it, your family, 3 quarterbacks play in the National Football League. Come on.
It is kind of crazy. It is.
Your dad, yourself, your brother. Are you kidding me? That's why, ladies and gentlemen, the Sims family is the first family of football.
Well, don't say that, because the Mannings are the first family.
Oh,
okay?
yeah. I guess.
All right, let's give them that. They win that award. Okay, they definitely do.
Yeah,
we're somewhere down the list. We're not too far down, but I will say one of the things I'm very proud of with my family and everything is, this is a crazy stat. We're and the Mannings are the only ones ever to have 3 of the same family throw touchdown passes in an NFL game. Right? My brother threw 1 as a Jet in the cleanup duty in his career. But yes, we and the Mannings are the only ones that have a dad and then 2 kids throw touchdowns in the NFL. That's the only time I'll be mentioned in the same breath as Eli and Peyton, but I'll take it.
How about it? Eli and Peyton, Super Bowl winners. I mean, Archie was in my era. Archie was a phenomenal athlete. Archie was a Pro Bowl quarterback. All 3 of them Pro Bowlers. The 2 sons, Super Bowl winners. I mean, you're right.
The grandson. I mean, he's about to be at Texas and tear it up and going to be in the NFL. I mean, yeah, they got it rolling. That's for sure.
Chris, you've been more than generous with your time as always. And it was another great football conversation. I swear, man, every time I have you as a guest, I feel like I could go on for not just hours, but days. You're the best. I appreciate you.
Thanks, man. I'm always ready to buckle it up and get in the trenches. All right, with you anytime.
Nice. Lap, did you enjoy that?
Yeah,
He's such a good guy, isn't he?
he is. He's a great guy, and and he really puts a lot of time in. It's like he doesn't just rest on the laurels of having the last name of Sims. He works.
Yeah.
He's a grinder.
All right, we got to catch up because we've been chatting. Alan, catch us up on where we're going. You got some that you want to make sure we highlight.
Yeah, a couple of guys who played college ball inside the state, so pretty cool. Darius Alexander.
That
from
we
Toledo.
mentioned.
Yep, goes at the top of the third. 216-pound high school defensive end who becomes a 290-plus pound defensive tackle in the NFL. Those are the cool stories that happen.
Yeah,
especially when kids go to those G5, those Maxwells. Harold Fannin from Bowling Green played high school ball at Canton McKinley. Was recruited as a safety, kind of this hybrid linebacker. Couldn't get a Division I scholarship for the longest time. I think Bowling Green ended up being the only one.
Wow.
They play him at tight end. He catches like 100 balls. And now goes in the third round. So super cool. And then Isaac Tesla just went to the Lions. He's from my part of Michigan, went to a very small private school there, won a state title, but as a quarterback, nobody recruits him. He goes to Division II Hillsdale College, becomes a receiver, catches a bunch of balls there, goes in the portal, ends up playing at Arkansas in the SEC, has a great combine and Senior Bowl, now goes top of the third, gets to go back to his home state and play for the Lions.
Absolutely crazy that he's going this high. I mean, what a fun rise from not being drafted. When we started this process, he was not on like the top 350 at all.
It's funny, guys mature at different stages. I mean, all of a sudden you'll see a guy. My situation a little like that. I mean, I was big, but not as big as today. Obviously, when I was a freshman in high school, I was 6 feet, 200 pounds. I go home for the summer, eat, lift weights, and I could feel myself growing. I swear to God, man. I'm in bed, and it's like I come back. I'm 6'4", 250 in one summer. One summer, the coach. I come walking in. He goes, "Who are you?" He goes, let's measure you, get on the scale. It was unbelievable. I was working, moving furniture and stuff, and lifting weights and doing. So I was working out like 3 times a day and eating probably 5 meals or whatever. And I mean, it just in 1 year, from age 14 to 15, 4 or 5 inches, 50 pounds. It was nuts, man.
That's crazy.
See, in today's day and age, you would have had schools trying to NIL you to get you to leave.
Yeah, right.
That's right. Okay, we're already at 73. By the way, no Shadur Sanders at pick 73 in the third round, and the Bengals are coming up 81. 81. Golly, time wise, Dave, and I'm looking at you. Do I need to get? No, we're good. We're okay. All right. We got some more giveaways. In case you haven't done it, just joining us, and man, a lot of you have joined us. So grateful that you're with us.
Yes.
On First Star Logistics' 3rd annual draft party. So grateful to the Reds. Great American Ballpark out at the Handlebar restaurant. Has anybody drunk anymore? Because I don't know whether they're listening to me. Yeah, they're not listening at this point. Inside the Handlebar, the drinks are running freely. The pizza's going on. I've spilled pizza on my shirt. So we're truly indoctrinated. But in the midst of this, hashtag First Star Logistics to be able to get into the grand prize at the end of our broadcast, which is coming up probably within an hour or so. We're going to be giving away a Bengals-themed golf cart for our grand prize winner. So you want to get into that. 81. As we get to 81, Alan, you start. What do they need? We haven't done offensive line, which you talked about for a long time, long before 49. It never happened. Are we going offensive line at 81, or are we seeing something else?
I think this almost has to be an interior offensive lineman here. Yeah,
I agree. I mean, what do you guys think of Dylan Fairchild out of Georgia?
So I think he needs some technical refinement despite playing for pretty much 3 years, but super strong wrestler, right? He wants to wrestle, and that can sometimes be a negative. You want wrestlers on the offensive line, but if he wants to pull these guys in, sometimes it gets him in trouble with holdings and stopping his feet, right? Keep a distance and battle him. So I think he needs a little bit of technical remaking, and I think Scott Peters is up for that challenge. That's his background, right? So I can see him looking at that saying that's not a problem for me.
Right.
I'll take that guy. Really good in pass protection despite what I started with there.
Yeah, and I mean, Scott Peters is the master of, it starts with the footwork, and Scott Peters, instead of like the stagger, Scott Peters is more parallel feet, and then as a result, he feels like that lengthens the arm. You utilize every inch of your wingspan, and hand placement is big with him, and he'll stagger their hands and hand placement, and he is huge on pad level.
Yeah.
And bending at the knees, not at the waist, getting your pads down. And so many of these guys, these offensive linemen, were so dominant in their high school careers. It's like, I don't need to worry about bending my knees again. I'm kicking this guy's butt.
That's why I don't think they would have liked Ursary. Why they probably weren't going to draft him there. He is a waist bender all the way.
Yeah. And it's like some guys are like, I don't have to worry about my technique and fundamentals because I'm just better than you. I'm going to move you with, without even worrying about how I'm going to do it. I'm just bigger, stronger, better.
So is there any possibility when you, every time I get you guys all three to agree, we have a problem. So
surprise pick me.
Do we have another surprise? But what's the potential surprise?
Safety?
Yeah.
Okay.
Kevin Winston
staying
Jr.
defense
Penn
again?
State.
Yeah.
This is a guy that could have been a first-round pick. Towards ACL, 5 games in. He's got the least amount of starting experience of all these safeties, but when he played, he is very, very good. Big guy that has played a ton of free safety for them. I think he had a chance to be a first-round pick. Had he made it through this year healthy or came back and gave him a full year at Penn State, Kevin Winston Jr. could have been a first-rounder. If he's there in the third for them, that's a huge win.
And I'll tell you what, you look at ACL. Back in the day, I mean, when you're talking in the 70s, it was like,
over.
Yeah, it was a kiss of death.
That's done.
ACL, you're done. I mean, you had zippers. You looked like I don't know, some kind of a dummy that they throw in an operation room for doctors. Just stitches all over the guy's knees. I mean, you were done. It was over, and there were no, reconstructions or anything like that. I mean, your ACL, it's gone. No ACL, no more ACL. And now all of a sudden you have bone-on-bone issues and all that kind of stuff. So with today's advancement medically and the surgical procedures and everything, it's like, okay, will he be ready at the start of training camp? Maybe not.
He ran a 4.5 flat at the pro day, which is crazy.
Jeez, that is.
So he should, yes.
Oh,
He
he's
showed up
close
to the
then.
pro day, ran a 4.5 flat, said, I can't do anything else, but I can run. Okay.
So he didn't want to change direction
right,
and all that.
Which makes sense.
Yeah,
a
absolutely.
4.5, what would he have run fully healthy?
Unbelievable.
I can't run that fast, but I'll run for you.
Yeah. Oh, man.
That's okay.
Usually I'm a 4.38.
Right, exactly. You can sell that easy.
To that point, Frank Gore tore his ACL in college three times,
Yeah.
and then played all those
20
years.
years.
Yeah. So,
It's
yeah, you're right.
unbelievable.
Well, I mean, I have to bring this up just because, my son plays baseball out at Mason. Mason had a big game with Lakota West tonight. Got a 2-1 win.
Nice.
With the help on the mound of a 16-year-old who is the number 1 rated now pitcher at his age,
Nice.
Jaden Bakit, who had Tommy John at 15.
Wow.
He is just coming. This is now 18 months after his Tommy
Too
John.
many deuces, huh?
And he comes
That's what
back
they used
and
to
he's
say.
throwing 95
What?
at 16 for Mason.
That's what they say, though. The Tommy John surgery, it's like,
They put bionic stuff in there.
yeah. And it's like all of a sudden guys come back and like my fastball is 3 miles an hour better than before I heard it.
Which makes you start to wonder in this age group and moving forward whether they're actually pushing kids too hard to the point of going, you know what? You're going to eventually have to have this surgery or that surgery. You might as well do it now because the way we're doing it, it makes you a little bit better at this point. And whether or not people are coaching into that. We move
Sounds
forward.
like science fiction.
I mean, that's where we're going.
Yeah.
It kind of is where we're going.
Yeah.
Because medical says, you know what? The bottom line is we can make your arm better. We can make your knee better. We can make your hip better. I mean, think about how many people now at this point, like old folks like me, are going in for hip surgery and going, man, I wish I would have done this 3 years ago because I got off the table and I have no pain. The thing with medicine now is changing the game to make people something that they weren't, and even better than what they were, and they don't worry about what they're doing because Doc can make me better at this point.
I'm booking all the surgeries I can right now.
You might
I'm
still have
getting
some
it
years
done.
left, like some playing time left
Yeah,
in you. Who knows?
exactly. There you go.
Yeah.
All right. I threw this out, Dave, when you were off, and Joe said, before I finished the sentence, somebody in this draft, because I said, who are your picks to win the Super Bowl next year? Which I caught both of them off guard. You know what? I don't have a pick at this point. But Joe's point was the Philadelphia Eagles won the Super Bowl in part and in hefty part because of how they drafted and two specific guys that came on that made such a significant role in that team that it pushed them over the edge. Will that happen again this year?
You know, you look at it, the Philadelphia Eagles took care of a lot of veteran players with big contracts. So they said, you know what, we have to fill this roster out through the draft. And they put the bat on the ball round after round, you know, unbelievable. So the Bengals have, like we've talked about multiple times, they have spent the dinero, a lot of dollars on the offensive side of the football, particularly the skill positions. Now, they do have a highly paid left tackle in Orlando Brown, and, but defensively, got to hit some picks in the draft. You got to put the bat on the ball.
Didn't it used to be, and this is where I say, do we change? Didn't it used to be, if you don't put the bat on the ball offensively, you're in serious trouble. And now we've moved into that vein that because the offensive game is so significant, because there are players who, I don't care who you throw, whoever you want to throw that guy the ball, he will change the game, because there's so many offensive game breakers that if you don't put a defense on the field to stop those guys, you can't win.
To support your theory, look at what they spent on the two receivers, the Bengals. I
Correct.
mean, you know, they paid their quarterback, and rightfully so.
Yep.
He's more than earned it. And, I mean, Jamar Chase and T. Higgins are just, I mean, they're two of the highest paid receivers in the National Football League. I mean, their combined compensation is pushing $70 million, on an annualized basis. That is big dineros. And, at that point, if you're going to give all that to that area, it's going to leave very little in some other areas. Right. And that's when you have to start hitting some draft picks.
Well, if the Bengals go into that saying that we really struggled defensively last year, and they have spent their first two picks defensively.
Yep.
Can you do enough with a couple of your first two picks, adding somebody else down the line, hoping for somebody late in the draft, and then adding free agencies? And can you add a defense that the Bengals were so severely lacking in last year to be able to compete now that they've added that dinero on the offensive side?
I mean, I think you're making a good point, Brad, in that, not only the draft, there is a secondary market for unrestricted free agency. Now, are you going to get, Pro Bowlers at that point? No, probably not. But there are some good, solid football players. It's all about roster building, and if you can improve, go out there and unrestricted free agency in the secondary market and say, this guy, we only have 3 offensive linemen better than this dude. Let's get him. I mean, of our starting, of our starting group, he's better than 2 or 3 of them. Get the guy. It doesn't have to be the star of the class. I think that Duke Tobin and his group do a good job of staying at least even par or ahead of the game in terms of evaluating the veteran free agents, the draft picks, and see what they do. See what kind of a roster they can build. It is all about roster building, and there's no question about it. And, man, salary cap is it's real, and it's not going away.
What do you got, Joe?
Burke's calling us.
Oh, Burke wants us. I got to give away something? Yeah, I'm late on the giveaway. All right. we had Draft Party 2025. I'm right on that, aren't I, Dave? That was our hashtag. And we're giving away a Bengals-themed PS5. And this is just one winner, right, on this giveaway. Do I want to do that first, or you want to do Just one? Are we doing this one first? Yeah, baby. All right, let's go. PS5, Bengals themed. If you were in on hashtag Bengals Draft Party 2025, you are up for this win on the PS25, and let the board roll. Dave's got to get into it. Spin the wheel, spin the wheel, spin the wheel, and let's go. I think we got a PX after this, possibly. Possibly. Our winner of the Bengals-themed PS5 is Eric Lewis. Monica, I saw your name run through that again. You almost won a PS5. Unbelievable. Eric Lewis is our winner of the PS5. Are we doing the? We are. Okay.
Any relation to Marvin?
No. I just had dinner with Marvin down in
Did
Phoenix.
You?
Yeah.
How about
Marvin's looking good. You know what he said? I found sleep and I like it.
Hard not to.
It is. All right.
So wait, are you telling me you don't sleep as a coach?
Yes, that's kind of the theme, I guess. All right. First Star Logistics, hashtag First Star Logistics. If you haven't got it in, that's for you to be able to get in. And this is going to get you into the grand prize right now. This is who that is going into the potential grand prize. Joshua Flanders. Hey, it's Mr. Flanders.
One of the Flanders boys. Yeah.
Mr. Flanders is good. All right. And we got one more to go into the grand prize winner. Let's see if we got somebody good coming up into the grand prize. This is for the golf cart. Daryl Bolden. Daryl Bolden, ladies and gentlemen, is going in. All right. We are going to give – we're still giving away the PX, Dave? Yep. All right. So PX is First Star Logistics Draft Party. So this, I know, gets confusing. First Star Logistics for the grand prize is your hashtag. But for the Bengals-themed Xbox, First Star Logistics Draft Party, all one word. We are at, pick 78, Arizona Cardinals, then the Texans, then the Colts, then the Bengals.
You want the last few?
Yeah, go get them.
All right, since we've stopped, I think Isaac Tislau was the last one we talked about. After that was Vernon Broughton, defensive tackle from Texas at 71 to the Saints. Landon Jackson, the edge from Arkansas.
There you go.
To Buffalo right after that. Ezra Thomas, corner from Florida State to the New York Jets at 73. 74 was Pat Bryant, wide receiver from Illinois. And then a guy the Bengals had a 30 visit with that was supposed to be like a 6th, 7th round pick at pick 75 to the Niners. Nicholas Martin, linebacker out of Oklahoma. Shorter dude, but stocky, tough linebacker. He plays with an attitude. I really liked him. I had him as a 6th round pick in my final mock draft for the Bengals.
6th round pick going at 75?
Yeah, he was supposed to. He was 195 on the consensus board. So they took a little reach there, but he's a guy I liked. Siobhan Ravel, man cover guy from ECU. That was a guy who didn't even play college a couple years ago, and then he had an injury. So he's already 24 years old. He goes to Dallas. Dallas has had an interesting draft so far. And the last pick was at 77. Carolina, Princely Uman-Milan, edge from Ole Miss. Ole Miss has a bunch of guys in this draft.
They do. South Carolina, Ole Miss, man.
And there's a lot of edge guys going in the first 3 rounds.
Texas A&M, yeah.
All right, so Cardinals pick is in, and then Houston, then Indy, and then the Bengals as we move forward. Alan, I want to ask you this just because I was listening to you as we were kind of chatting off in what you're doing, which leads us way into this, is how much the sport has changed. Is that now what you're doing is putting together in high school for guys going into college that is now changing the NIL game by the way that you are producing recruit footage, recruit verbiage, whatever goes into this, which then leads into, I don't know, what we're going into college and how the college game is changing, and everybody's saying if Nick Saban doesn't come in and save college football, we're going away. Tell me what this is leading into and why this matters now in high school.
So for one thing, you have high school kids, to your point about the pitcher, you have kids, the high school kids today are way ahead of where they would have been 10 years ago, 20 years ago.
5 years ago.
Right. In the training, being aware of nutrition.
Yep.
Now with NIL, you have kids who are signing with agencies because they're able to do that now.
Wow.
And these agents are hoping to keep them all the way through the process. You're going to see that in the draft eventually, where a kid is drafted who has had the same agent since he was a junior in high school.
Wow.
And that's very different. And so you're having kids come out more polished. Now, I think where you're going to see things change in terms of football is you have kids changing high schools all the time. And sometimes it's good. Kids will go down to an IMG and go through a college program. They're away from home.
So the draft portal or the portal that's going in college is now moving into the high school.
And that may not be good. You may not be getting players who are as ready. If you have, we talked about this earlier with a Shadur Sanders, where if you are changing colleges, changing offensive systems, changing offensive coordinators, changing skill guys every year, you're getting less ready players going into the draft. And I think if it eventually hurts the NFL product, you get that trickle-down effect where maybe the portal isn't as busy in a few years. If kids start realizing it's not really doing me any good, I can take this money, but in the long run of this, I'm a worse football player because of all the jumping around.
Are we better off or worse off as a sport in football because of all of this, the way that it's going, Dave, in your opinion?
I'm nervous about it. I think when you're talking about this kind of dollars, you know, in the past, it was okay. In the National Football League, when you're good enough to make it in the pros, you're going to have an agent. And then now all of a sudden, and you know, you're a senior in college. Now all of a sudden, like you said, 16 years old. These guys could muddy the waters big time. I mean, you have, let's face it, you have some honest representation, and you have some guys that are down and dirty in the mud. And that's what I'm worried about.
And more of them now than there ever were.
No doubt.
Follow the money.
And
follow the money.
And like Alan says, it's like, okay, you get a kid, you get the hooks into him almost for his life, from age 16 to 26 potentially, or 16 to 30 or 32. This guy is going to be making money off of this kid. What the heck? I mean, the thing that's bothersome to me is nobody's policing it. There's no rules or regulations as such. It is the wild, wild west.
I think it's coming. If I'm sitting here with you guys in 3 years and the system is the same, I will be shocked by that.
Yeah.
I do think the regulations are coming. And so
how?
They have to.
You say have to, but how? Horses out of the barn on this. If we're doing what you're dealing with, and think about the parents who are now involved in this, who are raising those kids when they say, hey, this kid didn't play until he was 12 years old, and now we're going in. You are creating that monster way long before, because the parents see the dollars and they want you to write about their kid, and they want to make sure that right is going to get them the NIL deal that they want to get.
So the difficulty, I think, if you talk to like college GMs and college coaches, is that in the NFL, you have a structure, you have a salary cap, you have an idea of if you're a first round pick, you get this, you're a second round pick, you get this, you're a third round pick, you get this.
Right.
In college, there is no structure to it.
Right.
So, and you're not drafting kids. So if you take a recruiting class of 25 players, you can't tell one kid he's your best and the other one he's your 25th. They all think you've told all of them, we want you here. You're the guy we want. We've recruited you. So it's harder for colleges to have a hierarchy and a structure. And then as players start to play and get better, they want to renegotiate their NIL deals sometimes in the middle of the season. There's guys threatening to sit out if you don't get,
ridiculous.
and then that was already set.
Yeah, I mean, Brad talks about the parents. Okay.
Just so you know, Colts pick is in and the Bengals are next.
Bengals are next.
Man,
all right,
spot already.
I think it's time. You got to go O-line, right? Interior O-line.
You got to.
Isn't that's the last? We talked about it before. Is Dylan Fairchild still there?
He is still there. So I'm thinking that Dylan Fairchild and
Kevin
Winston Jr. are the two we got to be aware of there.
I'm with you. So these agents are dealing not just with the kids. They're dealing with the parents, like you said, Brad.
Yep.
They're dealing with the coaches.
Yep.
So now all of a sudden, like I said, it's a cesspool, man.
Well,
it's like these guys, it's just how much money can you throw at them? Because, like I said, you could literally lock up a star for a decade and a half, and it's a money machine for that agent, and he'll spend a good bit of it to keep that money machine rolling.
Well, and every high school is bypassing whatever regulations that they have to bypass to recruit whoever they need to recruit to get that kid on their team and deal with whatever agent that they want to deal with to be able to bring other kids into that high school. The whole thing is starting to trickle into that point of, okay, at 12, when are you ready? Are you ready at 12? Let's go. And then it starts, it's beyond ugly now. I'm just worried about where it's going to go. And if you've let this much out of the barn, how much you're going to be able to regulate.
Well, I saw a couple of those kids throwing the ball in the audience. I'm going to actually try to sign these guys the next time we run a video. So I'm going to go over there and try to do that.
Fair enough.
Now, the funny thing, before we get to the Bengals pick that relates to this, in the portal, the position that we're seeing, I think, the most overspending at, or guys going into the portal at the Division II level and ending up at the Power 4, Power 5 level, is defensive line. Where you're seeing a Braden Fisk go from Western Michigan to Florida State, Jared Verse go from Albany. That's where
Dylan Fairchild, ladies and gentlemen.
Oh, look at that.
Yeah. Dylan Fairchild.
What a
Gotta
call.
love it. Gotta love it. You know, the thing is, there's no regulation of these agents. There's no regulatory deal. I mean, at least you have to be certified to represent athletes in the national. There's no certification for these high school and college kids. And that's where I mean, like you said, Brad, he is out of the barn, man.
It's
out of the barn.
Oh, they just found out about the thing. They don't listen to us.
Yeah, they weren't listening. They're drinking too much now, but they did see that Dylan Fairchild goes, all right, rate him, Joe.
He was 135th on the consensus board heading into this weekend. The Bengals taking him at 81. So again, I don't think they look at those things. So we'll just keep it moving. The 22-year-old out of Georgia, 6'5", 318, 33-inch arms, 81-inch wingspan. He's a guard all the way. He did not test before the draft. So we don't have his athletic measurables. He looks like an athlete on tape, but again, as Dave and I were talking as we started this thing, he's a wrestler, super strong, really cut up. Reminds me of a Wyatt Teller, who was with the Browns for a while there, under Callahan. His pass block grading, though, if you look at PFF, his pass block grading puts him in the 97th percentile amongst all interior offensive linemen in true pass sets, meaning take away all the screens and everything, just third down, 3rd and 8. How do you pass protect? Puts him in the 92nd percentile.
Joe, when you talk about numbers, you talk about 81-inch wingspan and 97% success rate as a protector.
Yep.
I think those correlate.
Oh, I think so.
When you got the Inspector Gadget arms, and you can lock guys out and keep them away from you, you're going to win a lot of pass protection snaps and reps. There's no doubt.
And is it fair to say, because I threw this out before, do you like kids from Georgia? Do you like the SEC? Does it matter that you got a guy that's gone against this competition and rated that well?
Yeah, I think so. And this goes back to high school, too. He was a high-level recruit that was an All-American. Also comes from a really strong wrestling background, high school wrestler. You like those guys. Played left tackle in high school, so he's got some experience there. But as you said, playing in the interior. But I do think you like guys. We've seen how many SEC defensive linemen have we seen drafted so far? So we know he's battle tested.
Yep.
And I like the pick.
The point that Joe made about he's good. He likes to wrestle, so he likes to have close quarters with players. He likes players to try to let them get in on inside with them a little bit, and you're not going to beat me because I know I'm going to get you a little bit off balance. And that's the thing. Crumrye was a state wrestling champion in high school, and he was, an unbelievable wrestler, All-American at Wisconsin. You could not get that dude off his feet. You couldn't get him on the ground. I mean, Crumrye was like, his balance was like inhuman. I think wrestlers, like you say, it's a double-edged sword there, Joe, because they like to grapple and get guys inside. But man, to get those dudes off their feet, if they were really a high-level wrestler, the balance that they have, the innate ability to stay on their feet is big time.
Yeah, and you know what it is when I see wrestlers and offensive line, D-line coach, especially in the inside, love those wrestlers. But what you see is that midsection, that strength, that core strength, where they can flip those hips and get those guys out of there, no problem. It's almost second nature to them. When they get guy will get into him. He's retreating a little bit. Next thing you know, it's wham, and he gets him out of there, and he drives him to the left or the right. I'm like, yeah, that's wrestling right there.
You know what? Too? You can't be a good wrestler without some flexibility. You cannot do it because people are bending you. People are pulling your limbs. You have to get underneath people. You have to be flexible to be a high-level wrestler, and you can tell that in some of these interior guys.
Good point. And, you talk about the hips. Crumry, he shatters both legs. He shatters both bones in the leg.
I'm walking right behind you.
All right.
Just don't mind me.
The tibia and fibula. And, he comes
Beautiful.
back. And how could he play again? Because like you talked about his hips, I'm telling you, this guy, when he would hunker down and anchor, you could not get him on the ground. I mean, it was like he was an immovable object. It was like he basically dug into the turf, It's like, dude, the hell, man.
Kevin Winston.
One pick later. The Bengals had Winston pretty high in consideration at 49. So for them to get to 81 and he's still on the board, he's coming off an injury. I wonder if they thought, you know what, he's still falling. We'll let him go. We'll attack a need and go with a guard here in Fairchild. But, as a draft guy, I question that process a little bit.
You think they'll come back with a safety here pretty quick?
Xavier Watts is still there for Notre Dame. Al Golden's got to be Al Golden's probably pounding the table already.
I think
and the offensive coaches are like, listen, we need a guard. We're not doing it.
Yeah, you've already got two.
You've got two.
You give us one.
Relax.
Yeah.
Okay, ruminate on that for a moment. I got winners.
Ruminate.
Yeah.
How about that word choice?
Here we got. Who wants a jukebox? All right. I already know who's got a jukebox. It is Zach Lapham. Zach!
I signed Zach's book earlier. He's got a whole book of every prospect over there.
Zach, you have a book of every prospect? Do you? Here, you can come up and carry this.
Well,
no, I don't think you're going to be able to do
Zach
that.
Taylor, Zach with the book. I mean, Zach's big, right?
All right, here's what's beneath. So I should probably pick this up because it'll be easier for you to see. On this side, signed by some guy named Joe. Joe Burrow signed helmet. Yeah, it's not Goodberry. And the winner is, do you know who the winner is? Listen to that silence.
Yeah.
Dylan Guthrie.
Woohoo.
Dylan, yeah, come on up and get your helmet,
All right,
Dylan.
How about you, Dylan? How about you, man?
There you go. All right, there's our winners. You guys can keep talking football again now.
Good stuff. Yes.
What am I doing? Does he has to do this?
Have him come up. He wants to see him on there.
Come up here and
Photo opportunity.
Come up here for a photo
opportunity. Yeah.
Stand
Put
up
your
next
arm
to
around
your
it.
jukebox.
Embrace
Hug it
it.
like you love it.
You got the right jersey on.
There you go. That's our winner. That's Zach Lapham. And Zach, you have every prospect available. How do you like the Bengals draft so far?
You know what?
He was non-committal.
Your first name's Zach. You're wearing Joe Burrow's jersey. I mean, how
that's
Bengal?
right.
You can't get any more Bengal than that. Zach Taylor and Joe Burrow. That's
I
good
love
stuff.
Beautiful.
Nice. Gotta love
How about First Star Logistics and the presents that they're giving away tonight?
it. Big time.
Good stuff. You guys
Real
like
good
the
stuff.
party tonight? There you go.
I'm telling you, like we said earlier, when First Star does something, they do it right,
baby.
I'm telling you, first class.
We still have we have the Xbox still to give away. We'll do that at the bottom of the hour. So, all right, we got 3 picks in. I'll go with you, Alan.
Yeah.
Rate it. Where are we? Are we good? Are we bad? Are we A, B, C? Are we below A, C? Where are we after 3 picks?
I'm gonna go B. I mean, I think there's needs being filled, so that's good. You got upside in Shamar. I think you're a little bit more higher floor on these next 2 picks. You got the ceiling with Shamar, higher floor the next 2 picks. You filled some needs, and I think if you come back in round 4 and you get a Xavier Watts, then I think that elevates the grade a little bit. But these are guys that the first 3 picks are guys that the Bengals had on their board. They targeted, and I think the filling of the needs is the biggest thing.
Joe?
Oh man, I'm not prepared for this. I'm gonna be honest with you. You know what's haunted me over the last year?
I like asking you questions you're not prepared for.
Well, I've thought about this for 365 days. Since
Oh
last
man,
year. We ended last year's party, the stream, remember? And you gave me the who is Joe Goodberry anyway? Because I said I didn't really like what they did on day 2. I wasn't a big fan of Chris Jenkins, McKinley Jackson. I thought Jermaine Burton was a bit of a wild card, a risk I wasn't willing to take. And they didn't get a ton out of those guys last year.
Yeah.
So if you're asking me to be honest, and I don't want to
be honest,
we're having a party. Can you be honest when you're having a party?
Yeah, don't bring us down, man.
I don't want to bring us down. There's a lot of potential here. There is these guys can be very, very good. There's moments I've liked all 3 on tape. They all 3 carry significant risk in their profiles, and it's, to me, as a guy that's been doing this now for 16 years, it's scary to me. I'd like to see the Bengals take less risk. They took a lot of risk last year, whether it was injury or character. They're taking it this year by having a lot of guys with incomplete profiles, whether they don't have the production in the first round, they didn't do athletic testing like Dylan Fairchild in the 3rd round. I would prefer. It got really silent in here.
Yeah.
I would prefer less risk and more. I look at what the Chiefs did. I look at what the Bills are doing. I look at what the Ravens are doing, and I'm a little envious of the players they've drafted. A lot of my favorites have gone to the rivals of the Bengals.
You know, we talked about boom or bust earlier in the show
yes,
here.
We did.
And so, Joe, you're thinking the chance for a boom is less than the chance for bust. You're thinking that there's a greater percentage that some of these picks don't pan out. Not bust, but don't pan out.
I'll give you an example. They've hit about 12% of the players I've given a 73 or less score since 2011. Years? They've hit 12%. All 3 so far are under 73.
Really? Oof. The thing, I guess
that's a buzzkill right there.
I guess in trying to brighten it up a little bit, I guess I'm thinking a little more optimistically. Al Golden, like you said earlier, said, defensively, I want to address the middle of my defensive football team, get strong up the middle initially here. He drafted a defensive lineman and a linebacker. Where was the other need that the Cincinnati Bengals had on the only need, well, not only, but the biggest need offensively, interior offensive linemen. So they did what Al Golden said defensively. We're going to address the middle of the defense with another interior defensive lineman and a linebacker. Now, you know, I guess argument would be, is it the right interior defensive lineman and linebacker? And then when they went offensively with Dylan Fairchild, in the interior, all I can say is, like I was referencing earlier with Cromwell, my experience dealing with in the trenches with offensive and defensive linemen that have wrestling in their background, tough hombres, man.
Give them to me, is what you're saying.
Yeah, they're hard to deal with. I think this kid he'll maximize his potential. I mean, all of them have that mindset, you know. I mean, they're just.
So he's weight room strong.
Tough.
He's weight room strong, right? He's played NFL competition weekly.
Yep.
He's seen it weekly.
High level.
So if you get a guy in the 3rd round who can come in this year, help keep Joe Burrow clean, that's a win through the 3 rounds of the draft.
And honestly, you know, and I know every offensive line coach likes to have his linemen have a little nasty in them. And I'm assuming, based on the background we're talking about,
I don't think that's a problem.
Nasty.
Yeah, I don't think that's not a problem.
Right, he's got some nasty.
Yep.
The question is, when we get to this, which goes back to our high school question, the early on the youth, the chasing the money, follow the money, where are we going? The excitement for everybody to take to this next level. The question then ends up being is, have you drafted guys who are chasing this because they still love to do what they do and they want to finish at the highest level they can possibly perform at and show how good they are? Or have they been drafted and now I'm here and I'm happy and I'm going to get some money, I'm going to play, and however it goes, it goes. You got to hope that character now becomes part of that draft mentality of understanding, did I get one of those guys or did I get one of those guys? And I hope that in the midst of all of this, there's enough knowledge to understand who you're getting.
Yeah.
I think that's a bigger question. Like colleges ask that question all the time. Pro teams ask it all the time. I think you saw it a little bit yesterday at the top of the draft with a guy like Will Campbell, who you mentioned the short arms and maybe some of the analytics don't favor him being the 4th overall pick in the draft. But an old school guy like Mike Vrabel says, I want that guy on my team because
I can see why.
Right. and it's because of more of the intangibles.
And he was crying when he was drafted. So if
Exactly.
you're wondering if guys still love it,
Yep.
yeah, that guy
And
does.
you listen to his interview, and you're like, that's a football guy,
Yep.
and that's a Mike Vrabel guy. I think those guys still are going to make it.
I agree.
Yeah.
All
I
right,
agree.
I'm going to give away a Bengals golf bag, so somebody's got to come up here as well. Here's our Bengals golf bag.
So what's your handicap these days, Brad? Single digits, aren't you?
Yeah, I'm probably 33
Yeah,
now.
right.
Is
right.
what my handicap
You're
is.
33 years old. That's all.
This is gorgeous. Man, I'd take this puppy.
I know.
Bengals golf bag.
Oh,
I love the silence. Andrew Dunay.
Oh, Andrew.
Oh,
Yeah,
Andrew's
he's happy.
happy.
Yeah.
Come on up for your photo op, Andrew. Andrew wanted this bag in a big way. You come all the way around here, walk up in front. There you go. Get yourself on camera. Get your golf bag. That's tasty.
Andrew's got a little bounce in the step right
Yeah,
now, man.
yeah, he does.
He's getting it done.
He's got
There
the
you
Bowling
go.
Green wrap too. That's Harold
There you
Fannin.
go, Andrew. Come on up for your photo op. Come on, stand up, you bonehead. Right here. There you go. There's your spot. Now you got your golf bag. Andrew, big winner.
Oh, he's got a tailor-made hat. Look.
All right,
he's
he's ready.
Yeah,
He's
yeah.
amped up for that.
He's got it all.
10:35, we are going to give away the golf cart.
Oh my.
Okay.
Ooh.
So 10:30 here. Do you want to do two more names right now? Okay, we're going to do
Oh.
2 names to go into the grand prize because we're 5 minutes away from giving that puppy away.
The final 2 names in
here they come.
play.
Oh, did you get in? Did you get in? Thomas Broadback is going in.
Looking very
Yeah,
distinguished
he's
in the
tied
tie.
up and everything.
Yeah.
That's his
All right,
LinkedIn
Thomas
profile
is in.
picture.
That's going into the grand prize for the Bengals golf cart. And one more name going in.
Hakeem Olajuwon.
We almost had
The dream.
Nate Johnson is going in.
We've got some
Johnson.
great screen names flash across
Tell you.
that screen tonight.
Something
Yeah.
we can't repeat.
It's
Yeah.
not Navin
Yes.
Johnson.
Nate
All right.
Johnson's a good name in Bengals. Bob Johnson, first draft pick ever for the Cincinnati Bengals, coached by Bill Johnson,
There you go.
offensive line coach.
I wonder if Brad
future
will
head
give us
coach.
a Rudy.
All right. And before we go into this, I'll give you one more. This is what are we giving away? Our PX, Bengals PX, right? First Star. And here we go. First Star Logistics Draft Party is what this was on. As we spin, we'll go. Touchdown, Rudy.
Just the way I remember
There
it.
you go. And Chris Bengal
How about
is our
it, Chris?
winner of the PX.
Nice.
All right.
Xbox, yeah, Xbox.
Xbox, sorry.
clear.
It's an Xbox.
Xbox.
I got a data point I forgot to bring up about Fairchild.
Go.
He was charged with 1 sack in his college career.
How about that?
Yep.
I mean, you talk about a pass protector. What was it? 97% success rate?
90% foul. Yep.
That's getting it done. I mean, I'm sure Joe Burrow endorses that pick. There's no
sure.
doubt about that because he's a guy too. And watch him. He is going to be responsible for and make sure that he keeps the depth of the pocket.
And that's what Fairchild does. He
Exactly.
sets a firm pocket.
Exactly. He's not going to give ground. And, you know, the tackles are responsible for keeping the width, the guard and center for the depth. Joe Burrow wants to have depth because 2 things. He can see down the football field. You know, I mean, sometimes when guys are in his face and the depth of the pocket's collapsing, can't see. Can't see linebackers, can't see safeties. Guys are messing with him. He's hoping sometimes when he releases it, or if he's not sure at all, he's not going to release it. And then also if you can keep, you know, a modicum of the depth of the pocket, when he climbs the pocket, he's going to be able to find lanes
Escape lanes,
to get
yeah.
through. And, you know, he can get out of pocket 2 ways: outside, you know, rolling, bootlegs, nakeds, whatever, or climb the pocket and work that way. And Joe Burrow is as good in the league as there is in the league at doing that. He can climb the pocket because the whole time he's climbing it, he's not thinking, I'm going to run it. He's got the football ready to throw. He's not tucking it. He's looking to throw the football, and he's made some big plays climbing the pocket and finding somebody late and hitting them for a big strike.
But 1 sack, not just in the SEC, but obviously Georgia's playing in college football playoffs and
Yep.
major bowl games. To give up 1 sack during that run against that schedule that they played.
Impressive.
That's pretty good.
And again, okay, we got Joe Burrow. We just gave a bunch of money to 2 receivers. We gave good money to our tight end, our receiving tight end. We want to throw the football. Why not draft a guard that's only given up 1 sack, and has kept a firm pocket like we're talking about. Good pick. Good pick.
Can I give you a teaser, Dave? Because you're about into it. You don't even know you're about into it.
Uh-oh.
You have 1 minute, and Dave is going to draw the name of the Bengals golf cart winner from our fishbowl, the people who have got into the grand prize. I just want to say a huge thank you, even before we get there, to First Star Logistics.
Yes.
Kevin Bernhardt, Dave Burke, Garrett Hughes, the whole gang that has put this, because the way that it works is all the people behind the scenes and for how long that they've put this together. Great to be able to work with Alan, with Dave, and with Joe once again. It is a pure blast to deal with the knowledge that these guys have. We're thrilled that you guys came out to the Handlebar, because this was a little fun for our 3rd draft party,
Yes,
wasn't it?
very
absolutely.
A little bit of fun.
Yeah.
All right.
And there's still time to bribe Dave, right? If they want to.
Yeah,
Yeah.
if anybody has cash for Dave before he reaches into the fishbowl, you have about 20 seconds. No, you're there. We're at 35. Fishbowl's coming up. Here we go. Fishbowl's coming up. 1 more minute. Huh? Oh, my God. For what? What did we get for Joe? Oh, my gosh. Another Joe Burrow helmet.
What
signed.
about that?
So online,
How about it?
hashtag Joe Burrow.
Man, I'll tell you what.
And we'll give that away after the grand prize as well. So hashtag Joe Burrow, hashtag Joe Burrow, hashtag Joe Burrow.
I don't know how big Kevin Bernhardt's prize closet is, but I mean,
It's large.
it's large. I mean, they just keep pulling things out of that bad boy.
He's got a jukebox in it. He's got
He's
a golf
shaking his
cart
head over
in it.
there.
He's
It's
got
unbelievable.
all sorts of
Unbelievable.
stuff. All right, get the
He's like
fishbowl
Santa
up
Claus,
here.
man. Santa Claus.
Get this puppy out here, because Dave Lapham's about to pull that lucky winner for the golf cart, and we're going to get this thing done. You ready, David? Here we go.
What's
Does he have
that?
to come down?
Come down here.
Oh, okay. Dave's
Where are we
gonna
going?
come down.
Oh, you're putting them in.
Oh, not even in the fishbowl. You're just going into the helmet straight off. Okay. Fair enough. This is for the Bengals themed golf cart.
It's in the helmet.
It's in the
It's hard to
helmet.
get your hand in a fishbowl.
Well, it's hard for Dave's fan to fit in just about anywhere. So this is good. All right. We ready? Are we ready? All right. Here we go. Here we go. Reach in. This is it. This is for the big one, for the Bengals golf cart. Oh, the big winner is, and here's the announcement coming. Dave, why did you peek? Because you had to know first.
Of all
Dave
the
had
ones
know
to win.
first.
I thought it said Tate Ratledge, was it?
Oh my gosh!
Tate Ratledge
It
is
is.
in the
It
Lions golf
is.
cart.
It is a name that we mentioned as we were drawing these things that caught our eye.
Wow.
So does that give a hint to anybody?
Hakeem Olajuwon.
It was not Akeem Olajuwon.
Hakeem Olajuwon can't even get on the court in March Madness.
So we know somebody we know. It's just
Well,
They-
you said you think you know who it is behind this hashtag.
really.
I Kick Things
Are you
is
kidding
your
me?
winner of the golf
All
cart.
right, Evan McPherson. Here we go. Where's Evan?
Where is
Where
it?
is Evan? Where is Evan?
There's no reaction. Is I Kick Things here?
Online.
It's an online
It's
winner.
online winner. I Kick Things.
Nice.
Congratulations. That's a big old win for how about that?
Oh my goodness.
All right, Evan McPherson is going to be driving. We'll find out at camp, right? Whether or not we got
Yeah.
Evan McPherson and I Kick Things.
He'll be cruising from the locker room to the practice fields in the golf cart.
We've got to choose our winner here on the Joe Burrow, right? For the people who've got in it, Dave, are you able and prepped for that to be able to get that going?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so one more Joe Burrow signed helmet.
My goodness.
And
4 minutes.
how much? Oh, we'll give you 5 more minutes for Joe Burrow. So that gives us time to wrap up. Alan, I'll let you go first. Give me your overall impression on this as we move into day 3 of the draft tomorrow.
Yeah, I think it sets up nicely for tomorrow. As we mentioned, a couple of safeties still on the board. I think that's the position you're looking at next in all likelihood. And
Yep.
then, so I think in the way that this has gone, in terms of filling needs, did it really well the first 3 rounds. There's some ceiling potential there. We talked about boom or bust, but I think you drafted some guys with traits, you filled needs, and then tomorrow you can continue to fill those needs. So going into this draft, I thought, how are they going to fill all? They seem to have, a good number of needs here. I think through round 4, if you go safety tomorrow, they'll have filled that, and then you get a little bit more room to kind of play with maybe some BPA after that.
Joe, good. Dave, you want to go next?
No, Joe, go ahead.
All right. A lot of players still on the board, as we always feel this way, right?
Sure.
Whenever you're predicting the draft, it's hard to predict the guys that are going to be reaches. And then you go, oh, this guy should be in the second, third round. Then you get there, there's a lot of second and third round guys still available in round 4.
Yep.
So I got to think Xavier Watts from Notre Dame is high for the Bengals. I mean, they haven't addressed safety yet. L. Golden from Notre Dame.
Yep.
I got to be banging the table for that. But I'm going to throw out another one. Name to watch tomorrow. Cam Scatterbo, Arizona State running
how
back.
about that?
Oh, no. Really?
Yeah, be a great pairing with Chase Brown.
I'm sorry. What number do they pick at tomorrow?
We got it in here.
Where are we at?
19.
That guy immediately fan favorite if they pick Cam
Oh, my
Scatterbo.
gosh.
If you
You
haven't
kidding?
watched his
119.
YouTube highlight, pull him up on YouTube.
Scatterbo. Oh.
It's
Scatterbo.
119?
119 next pick.
Okay, so we finished tonight at 102, so 17 again tomorrow. Interesting. Dave, your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to go back to, comment made about Al Golden. Al Golden said, look, want to take an interior defensive lineman, an inside linebacker, and he mentioned, a safety as well. If he goes that route with the safety, like you're talking about, particularly if it's Notre Dame safety, Watson, I'm great with that. I would not be hacked off if it's a corner. If the best corner that's left on the board that maybe has slid a little bit, because like we talked about 10 to 50. I mean, it might even be a little bit deeper than 50. There's a lot of people are saying that this draft goes, well into the 4th round, or even at the end of the 4th round, beginning of the 5th. Until there's another dip. So I would like to see them again continue to address the defense like we're talking about. But at some point in time, this draft, there were more running backs at the combine, 31 running backs at the combine. And you look at it and you say, it's probably 10 or 11 take a longer look at. And I'm saying at the end of the draft. I'm not saying the next pick. I'm not saying tomorrow or whatever.
Yeah.
But, I think that they've achieved what their goals were in terms of addressing areas of the defense that they needed to address, addressing the interior of the offensive line. Now, people can argue, was it the right players? But from a position standpoint, I have no issue with where they drafted.
Okay. All right. Fair enough. Are we at our 5 minutes now? And here we go. We're jumping in. So for your Bengals signed helmet by Joe Burrow, this is your night ender. So much thanks go to First Star Logistics, a great 3rd annual Bengals Draft Party, and the final big ticket item heading out to one of our fans is Eric Thomas.
Are you kidding me?
ET gets one.
ET. Great corner.
Getting the Joe Burrow helmet. And with that, we're wrapping it up, Dave, aren't we? We're calling it a big old wrap now. We're getting the finger. Everybody is getting ready to move out. Our thanks to the Cincinnati Reds and the Handlebar. Everybody,
absolutely.
the big staff out here
Good stuff.
for what they did out here. Everybody, all the fans who came out, we're grateful for you. It's going to be an exciting Bengals year. They've signed a couple of big names, and they have added some names that now surprised people in the draft. We're heading to wrap this whole thing up, and we get to change the what ifs into how you gonna do. So we'll move that forward. Can't wait to do it again next year, gentlemen. Thanks for all your time. Lap, a pleasure to be back with you.
Same here, Brad. It's not just a couple now. It's a few. Two's a couple. 3rd year, it's a few now.
How about that? Now
There
we're
we
just
go.
getting into a big old thing.
Yeah.
Alan, nice to have you join us this year. And who is Joe Goodberry anyway?
I like that. That's the highlight of my year right there.
That's a beautiful thing. Guys, thank you so much. Dave Burke, everybody behind the scenes, all of you who put this together, thank you. Everybody online, and man, there were a lot of you.
Yes.
Thank you for joining us here tonight. We'll see you next year.
Hooday, baby.
Bengals fans, tired of the same old post-game chatter? Want real insight beyond the scoreboard? Then you need Bengals on the Brain with Joe Goodberry, presented by First Star Logistics. Joe Goodberry isn't just a fan, he's a die-hard Bengals football analyst. Every week, Joe dives deep into the Bengals game film, breaking down the plays that mattered, revealing hidden strategies, and uncovering the true impact of individual performances. Get ready for post-game analysis like you've never heard before, player evaluations that go beyond the stats, and the most in-depth Bengals draft coverage on the internet. Don't just watch the Bengals, understand the Bengals. Subscribe to Bengals on the Brain with Joe Goodberry on the First Star Media Group's YouTube channel. Get smart, get obsessed, get Bengals on the Brain.
Are you a die-hard Bengals fan craving more than just highlights? Dive deep into the heart of the team with Dave Lapham's In the Trenches, presented by First Star Logistics. Join Bengals icon Dave Lapham, a 10-year NFL veteran and the team's color analyst since 1986, as he delivers unparalleled Bengals analysis. In the Trenches features exclusive interviews with current players and coaches, giving you an inside look at game strategy, team dynamics, and behind-the-scenes stories you won't find anywhere else. Plus, Dave brings in top NFL experts like Chris Sims, Charles Davis, Solomon Wilcots, and Chris Collinsworth to break down the biggest plays and predict the future of the Bengals and the AFC North. Get the edge every week. Subscribe to Dave Lapham's In the Trenches on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts today.
Dave Lapham here, and every day I am grateful for my experience to have played professional football. As a player, I realized self-motivation, leadership, and appreciating your teammates are key. At First Star Logistics, you can use those same attributes to create the life you want for you and your family. Build your future by working hard like I did. You'll see results both on and off the field. Call First Star Logistics today and be part of our winning team.
Opportunity knocking.